When Wyatt's girlfriend dumped him for being poor, 9 seconds later, he got $90 billion. There was just one catch: he could only spend it on women, never on himself. And absolutely not on the ex who just dumped him for a richer guy, Vanessa Bishop. She left him with 11 cold words while he held the plush bear from their past. Their future: Wyatt, do not wait up, Gavin is outside, we are done. He typed, I am. Sorry first, 3 years of being trained like a dog does that to a man. Then the gray bubble vanished, blocked. Outside his dorm, a dark luxury sedan honked twice, sharp and smug, like Gavin Trent was already laughing behind the windshield. Wyatt looked at the bear, his empty apology text, and his $4 cafeteria receipt. Then he deleted that pathetic text. Deleting it was the first useful thing he had done all night. The screen did not return to his wallpaper. It went black, then lit up with a single clean line. Counterbalance System online. Wyatt stared at the text. His first thought was that lack of sleep had finally finished him. His second thought was worse: if he was losing his mind, at least his mind had better timing than Vanessa. The next line flashed. Counterbalance wallet, $90 billion. Spend condition, women only. Devotion score. Unlocks the counterattack rebate. He did not get an instruction manual or a glowing old mentor, a warning, or some epic speech about destiny. He got a balance bigger than a small nation's budget, and one ridiculous rule that fit his life way too well. The system had basically looked at his 3 years of begging and said, fine. Make it profitable. Suddenly, a sleek black card slid from behind his phone case. He almost laughed. For 3 years he had worked horrible shifts, skipped meals, carried Vanessa's books through storms, edited her essays, and funded her tiny emergencies, constantly telling himself love was meant to be unequal. Then she hopped into Gavin's luxury car because it had nicer leather seats. The sedan honked again. Wyatt stepped over to the window. Gavin was leaning against his door with one hand shoved in his pocket, grinning up at the dorm like he owned the place. Vanessa stood right beside him in the expensive winter coat Wyatt bought her. She checked her phone, saw his messages had stopped, and frowned. Good, he wanted her to squirm. He tossed that stupid plush bear straight into the lobby trash and stepped outside. Vanessa spotted him first. Her shoulders tightened, not with guilt, but pure annoyance, like even after blocking him, she expected some pathetic performance. Gavin sneered at Wyatt's cheap hoodie and his old, glued-together sneakers. He did not even bother hiding his smug grin, asking if Wyatt came to wave goodbye. He said it loud enough for nearby students to hear. Vanessa warned him not to be pathetic since they already talked, but they had not talked. She had texted and he had obeyed. That was their routine. He held up his phone, flashed the blank screen at her, and said he just wanted to make sure the block actually worked. Her jaw dropped while Gavin scoffed. That is all, Wyatt muttered before walking right past them. He heard her call his name once. Her confusion alone made his entire night worth living. The counterbalance system hummed on his phone as he crossed the Riverton State University quad. The quickest way to test a miracle is doing something selfish. First, he stopped at a vending machine by the student center and tapped his black card for the cheapest coffee. It got declined. Suddenly, 2 guys. The guys behind him laugh, mocking how even the machine knows he is broke. But the system screen flashes a warning first. Spend condition failed, women only. Waddy stares. He stares at the card and laughs quietly, making the mocking guys take a step back. The laughter dies instantly. The system is real enough to reject him, and that realization hits. It feels less like a charitable gift and more like a weapon with a sick sense of humor. The system demands his first target. He still has enough dignity left not to choose. Vanessa, this is not about nobility. It is simple math. If this system is real, the best payback is not begging the girl who walked away. True revenge means making her watch him spend absolute fortunes on someone else. He heads to the student center. The student center is open, its warm lights spilling through the glass facade. Inside, the market smells of fried food, coffee, cheap sweets, and old comforts. Comforts he sacrificed just to buy Vanessa expensive gifts she never even wore twice. Nearby, a group of art students are hanging out near the market tables. He spots Sierra Lane immediately. Everyone on campus knows exactly who she is. Sharp eyeliner, an even sharper tongue, and the absolute confidence of a natural critic. She could easily tear you apart while making it sound like constructive feedback. For 3 whole years, she watched Vanessa use him, laughing at his expense. Perfect, he steps into line. Sierra spots his worn-out hoodie, then his face. Her smile curves like a blade as she mockingly calls out his name, Waddy Locke. She asks loud enough for everyone to hear if Vanessa returned him to the lost and found. A guy nearby chokes on his drink, and one of Vanessa's friends raises her phone. She is already filming everything. The old Wadi would have hung his head in shame. Never again would he pretend those jokes did not hurt. He stares at Sierra. He calmly asks if she is hungry, instantly killing the laughter in the room. Sierra tilts her head, asking if a cheap campus sandwich is his rebound strategy. No, he replies, his rebound strategy is finding out just how expensive her mouth is. Surrounding students react instantly, sensing the sudden tension of an incoming fight. Sierra crosses her arms, warning him not to lose his survival instinct. Suddenly, the system interface flashes a private notification right over her head. A custom screen appears, showing Sierra Lane is eligible with a devotion score of 2. That tiny number hits incredibly hard. The system is not offering him theories. It is handing him a target who just volunteered. Honestly, she has no idea what is coming. He points directly at the glass food display, demanding every single item inside. The worker blinks, every sandwich, every salad, and every dessert cup. Every drink in the cooler too. He looks back, telling them to charge Sierra Lane. She can feed her entire art studio or build a massive throne out of muffins. Wadi does not care. Sierra laughs, but her voice is noticeably thin and nervous now. She tells him that when his card declines, everyone will get to laugh twice. The cashier begins ringing it up. The total climbs so fast that onlookers lean in. One of Vanessa's friends whispers, asking if he is actually serious. He hears it. He wants Vanessa to hear all about this later. Sierra steps closer, testing him. She points to the high shelves, demanding he add all those boxed chocolates. Ring up all of them, he orders. Sierra's confident smirk begins to twitch. She demands the expensive imported water. He tells the worker to make it full cases. The cashier looks between them in utter disbelief, asking how many. He replies, all of them. The numbers kept climbing on screen. Sierra leaned toward Wyatt and whispered, but the nearby students still heard her. She warned him Vanessa was not coming back just because. He embarrassed himself louder. Good, Wyatt replied. He was actually worried she might. Vanessa's friend overheard that. Her eyebrows jumped. She immediately started typing with her thumb while still recording. Sierra's eyes narrowed. She absolutely hated losing control of the joke. She snapped, fine, she said, the art studio needs supplies, drawing tablets, paint sets, canvas rolls. The campus store stocks them in the back, or was he only rich enough for snacks? The counterworker hesitated. They could ring those up there, but the tablets were expensive. How expensive? Sierra asked, watching him. The worker turned the screen. The total was already stupid. The added supplies made it obscene. $53,418.72. The table went quiet, not dramatic quiet, a hungry quiet waiting for his humiliation. Wyatt calmly pulled out his black card. Sierra saw it and immediately scoffed. She asked if it was a gift card from a magic show. Maybe, Wyatt said, pick a receipt length. He tapped the card, approved. The sound was tiny, but the damage was massive. The counterworker straightened like Wyatt had put on a suit in front of her. The student with the drink stopped chewing. Vanessa's friend lowered her recording phone, stared at the screen, then raised it again because she understood the second half mattered even more. Sierra did not move. Sierra for once had nothing ready. The counterbalance system suddenly pulsed. Sierra Lane devotion score 2-19. Counterbalance wallet remaining 89,946,581,028. No rebate, no fireworks, no miracle. Strength, just proof. Unbelievable, but it was enough. The counterworker handed Wyatt the receipt. With both hands, asking if they needed delivery, Wyatt looked at Sierra and told them to ask her. It was her pile. Sierra blinked. Her pile. Well, her name was on it, so don't choke on sincerity. The art students broke first. One of them burst out laughing like the air had been punched out of him. Another grabbed the chocolate box, asking Sierra if she was rich now. The girl from Vanessa's group stopped, pretending she was not sending the video. Sierra slowly took the receipt from the counterworker. Her fingers brushed Wyatt's for half a second. The system flashed. Again, devotion score 19-23. Greed was honest, and Wyatt respected it more than fake purity. Sierra stared at the receipt, then at the massive mountain of food and supplies being stacked. She asked how she knew he would not cancel delivery after he walked out. Wyatt told her she did not. She demanded his number for accountability. The students nearby heard the weak excuse and loved it. Sierra heard herself too, her chin lifting as if daring him to call her out. Wyatt calmly held out his phone. Countability sounded expensive, he teased. She typed in her contact with one thumb. He invoiced emotionally, then itemized. She handed the phone back, noting the first charge was making her curious against her will. The system did not need to explain that. Her devotion score climbed by 2 points, while she still pretended she only wanted the delivery confirmation, 23 to 25. Sierra lifted the receipt and waved it at the room. Studio eats because Wyatt Locke lost his mind. Nobody waste. The fancy water, that got loud cheers. Not for him exactly, but for the food, the chaos, the fact that the campus loser had just dropped $53,000 because a pretty girl insulted him. Fine by me, a girl near the door said. Vanessa needs to see. Right then, another student holds up their phone. The video is already out there, sent to everyone. Wyatt's own screen buzzes, next with a message from that same mysterious sender. Vanessa says, "You are doing this to make her jealous." He picks up a box of chocolates from the counter and tosses it to Sierra. He tells her not to guess so loudly. Sierra catches the box against her chest. He paid for it after all. Her smile returns, but now there is real interest behind it. Not affection or trust, just pure interest, and interest is far cleaner than pity. She steps closer, scanning him from head to toe. This time she is not laughing. She asks where the money came from. Wyatt calls it a bad emotional investment. It finally matured, he says. Sierra snorts at his ridiculous rich person answer. He points out she must know many rich men, enough to know their style, she counters. They do not usually dress like laundry day. He replies that this is educational. She circles him, eyes locked on the black card. Let me see it, she demands. But Wyatt slides it back into his wallet, refusing. Sierra is surprised by his limit. Yes, he says, and his limit is her hands. The watching students gasp at that. Sierra blushes but quickly laughs it off, noting he was never this mean before. Back when he carried Vanessa's coffee, he was underpaid. The system does not reward that. But the crowd absolutely loves his attitude. Students begin moving the massive pile of snacks. The cashier has to call for backup as things get incredibly chaotic. The entire campus market now revolves around Sierra like she is leading a parade. Talk about a massive, satisfying turnaround. For 3 years, Vanessa treated Wyatt like absolute garbage. But in under 10 minutes, Sierra has turned him into something completely different. She is showcasing a side of Wyatt that Vanessa never bothered to see. He keeps quiet, simply watching the entire room adjust to his sudden rise. Sierra notices it too. Setting the chocolates down, she calls his snacks cute but easy. She suggests anyone could easily fake this if they stole someone else's credit card. Apparently, broken-hearted men do stupid things, and Wyatt definitely looks like the crying type. That jab hits a nerve, and her smile sharpens as she enjoys poking his bruises. The old Wyatt would have panicked. This new version has other plans. He checks his massive system balance and calmly asks for a harder test. Sierra's gaze drifts out the window toward the high-end road leading to the mall. She challenges him to visit a luxury designer boutique where clerks spot fakes instantly. If his magic card actually works in a place like that, she might believe him. Of course, Vanessa absolutely loved that exact boutique and always dreamed of going there. She used to send him photos of expensive Italian leather bags for months. She claimed she was just dreaming, yet left the pictures out to mock his poverty. She wanted him to apologize for being broke. Now, the system offers no guidance. It does not need to. Wyatt simply gestures toward the exit, inviting her first. Sierra stares at him, testing to see if he will back down from this challenge. This is no longer about snacks, it is a real status test, but Wyatt stands firm. She shoves the receipt at a nearby student, demanding they guard her new empire. If anyone steals the chocolate, she wants names, then she takes his lead. They walk out of the student center together, as if she planned this all along. Halfway across the quad, Wyatt's phone buzzes with a message from an unknown number. It tells him to let Vanessa know he just bought another girl half the market. He smiles and locks his phone while comments claim the video is fake. Sierra notices. She asks if it is about her, not directly. He wants accuracy, not just jealousy. Sierra laughs softer now, boarding the campus shuttle. Heading to Cedar Point Mall, there are no deep talks or sad confessions. Instead, she spends the trip scrolling through luxury bag photos. She calls out higher prices whenever she thinks he looks too calm. This bag is $12,000, she says, then quickly raises it to $18,000. She points at her screen, joking that he is either incredibly rich or severely concussed. Her devotion score blinks from 25 to 26, far from love but progress. It feels like payback for every ounce of past humiliation he endured. By the time they actually reach Cedar Point Mall, the video has already gone completely viral. Two students near the entrance recognize him, whispering and pointing. They stare directly at Sierra's empty hands, waiting for some high-end item to magically appear. Oh, you just know this payback is going to be legendary. Sierra leads him upstairs. Upstairs, Aster and Birch glows under warm golden lights. Its polished shelves gleam, and snobbish clerks judge everyone by their footwear. As they enter, a clerk glares at his casual hoodie. The clerk wears that tight, polite expression meant for throwing out unwelcome guests. Then he spots the display table, where a single Italian leather bag sits. A deep cream bag sits with an outrageous tag. Vanessa Bishop already has both hands on it, with Gavin Trent standing nearby. Gavin checks his phone, looking thoroughly bored by the price of showing off. Sierra follows his gaze, whispering, "Is that the one?" Yes, it is. Her devotion score blinks once, almost as if reacting. It moves from 26 to 27. He recognizes the clasp and color immediately. He once stared at photos of this bag, dreaming of buying it. Hours were spent calculating how many double shifts bought her smiles. Now the very bag she begged him to buy is within his grasp. For the first time in 3 long years, he is absolutely not the one begging. Vanessa holds the prize tightly when he and Sierra walk right into the shop. Fate just set the table and handed him the perfect weapon to strike. The nearby clerk sees his hoodie and approaches with a fake, icy grin. Her eyes silently warn him to leave until she spots Sierra's receipt. She notices the elite black card tucked between his fingers and instantly hesitates. Wealth speaks clearly in these high-end boutiques, commanding respect instantly. Tonight, he is going to keep them guessing until they are utterly confused. Vanessa looks up first, her expression shattering into shock, anger, and sudden panic. Desperate, she quickly spins toward Gavin Trent to hide her mounting embarrassment. Loudly, she tells Gavin that this is the exact bag she wanted. Gavin ignores the luxury bag entirely, staring at him instead with a smug, arrogant grin. When asked if they followed them, Sierra lets out an amused laugh. She claims he followed her, telling Gavin to keep up. The clerk chimes in, warning that this is their very last cream bag. They can order another, but there is zero guarantee of arrival. That warning lands heavily, and everyone in the shop knows exactly what it means. Sierra steps closer to the display table. She wants that bag. Vanessa glares at her, claiming she is holding the bag first. Sierra just smiles, replying she can clearly see that. The clerk freezes. Gavin laughs out loud, careless and cold. Relax, it is just a bag. Vanessa snaps instantly, but you said you would get it for me. Gavin scoffs, muttering that he does not buy love with tantrums. Rich words, especially coming from a guy acting like her personal driver. He used to honk outside Wyatt's dorm just to feed her massive ego. Sierra looks at Wyatt. Hear that? He respects women too much to buy things. So brave, Sierra mocks. A nearby clerk tries to hide a smile. Vanessa flushes red with embarrassment. Gavin's face hardens. Is this funny to you? Wyatt smiles, telling them he thinks it is highly educational. Vanessa pulls the bag closer. She snaps at Wyatt to stop embarrassing himself, her absolute favorite leash. For 3 long years, any request for basic respect was called embarrassing. When Wyatt worked 4 jobs for her birthday, she called it sweet. But asking why she never posted him, pressure, it was always pressure. And when he finally stopped being useful, Wyatt does not argue. Instead, he looks at the clerk and asks if Vanessa is buying. The clerk hesitates, explaining they only hold items during active checkout. Vanessa waits for Gavin, Sierra waits for Wyatt, nobody moves. The entire boutique holds its breath, waiting to see who folds first. Gavin reaches over to the price tag, tilts it, and visibly flinches. A tiny twitch, but everyone sees it. Vanessa demands to know what is wrong. Gavin backpedals. Nothing, he lies, claiming the color is not worth that much. The clerk looks down. Sierra lets out a low whistle at his cheapness. Gavin snaps, pointing at Sierra and telling her she does not belong here. Sierra's smile vanishes. The cheap shot lands in a room of mirrors. She mocked Wyatt's clothes earlier. Now she feels the exact same blade. But Wyatt actually paid for that lesson. Now he steps right forward. He blocks Gavin from Sierra, standing close enough to make him sweat. Box the bag for Sierra, Wyatt tells the stunned clerk very calmly. Vanessa's face goes pale. The clerk hesitates, looking around the room. Wyatt looks directly at Vanessa. Are you buying it or not? Vanessa looks at Gavin. Gavin's pride fights his wallet and loses. He sneers that Vanessa does not need to compete with a rebound. Sierra just leans around Wyatt, smiling at Gavin's very weak excuses. A nearby clerk coughs to hide a laugh. Gavin's ears turn red. Embarrassed, he snatches a tiny card case and tosses it right down. "Ring this up," he demands. Vanessa likes practical gifts anyway. Vanessa stares at the tiny leather case. "Gavin, I wanted the bag." "You wanted to shop," Gavin snaps back. "We are shopping now." Talk about a self-inflicted wound. A cheap man always hides behind taste. He drives a luxury car, but brings a bargain bin attitude inside. The clerk sets the card case down, asking if they want the bag. Gavin's smile tightens into a hard, completely miserable no. Though the movement was small, the room noticed. Sierra touched the display tag with one finger, noting that the upgrade came with a smaller storage compartment. Meanwhile, Vanessa whispered for them to stop. Wyatt did not know if she meant Sierra, Gavin, or the whole night. He only knew she did not mean herself. Gavin pushed his card across the counter and the payment cleared for the card case. That made it worse. He had enough money to buy a token, and enough pride to pretend the token was principal. The clerk put the tiny box in front of Vanessa, but she did not pick it up. Sierra leaned close to Wyatt and murmured, "Please tell me you are about to be disgusting." Professionally, he agreed. Vanessa still would not let go of the bag. Wyatt held out his hand toward the clerk. "If she is not checking out, box it." The clerk looked at the store manager near the back, who gave one tiny nod. Luxury stores love rules, but they love cleared payment even more. The clerk reached for the bag and Vanessa jerked back. "Wyatt, not stop, not please." Just his name, like she still owned the button. He met her eyes. "You blocked me, remember?" That hit harder than Wyatt expected. Her lower lip moved, and for a second he saw the girl who used to call him whenever her rides canceled, whenever her card declined, and whenever she wanted him to be useful without being seen. Then Sierra stepped beside him, close enough that her sleeve brushed his. Vanessa saw that too. The clerk gently took the bag from Vanessa's hands. The first real payoff of the night was not the money, it was her empty hands. The clerk placed the bag on soft paper, folded the tissue, and set it inside a cream box. Sierra watched the box, trying not to grin. "Too early," Gavin scoffed. "You really think one purchase makes you a man?" "No." Wyatt replied, "It makes her the owner. Try to follow the receipt." The clerk read the total. Vanessa's eyes flicked to Gavin one more time. He looked away first. Wyatt tapped the black card. "Approved." Talk about a satisfying slap to their pride. The store changed immediately. The clerk's shoulders straightened. The manager came forward. The second clerk offered Sierra sparkling water with both hands. 3 customers near the perfume shelf stopped, pretending not to watch. The counterbalance system pulsed. Sierra Lane, devotion score 27 to 43. Counterbalance wallet remaining 89 billion. Wyatt did the math in his head and almost laughed. Vanessa had left him for a man who flinched at a price tag. The system had handed him a woman who raised the price because she wanted to see if he would blade. Sierra took the box from the clerk and hugged it like a trophy. "Wyatt," she said, "sweet enough to poison coffee." "Do I look materialistic?" Gavin muttered yes, while Wyatt looked at Sierra. "You look expensive. There is a difference." Her devotion score jumped again, 43 to 48. Vanessa heard the line and folded her arms, but the motion looked defensive, not proud. She said, "So this is who you are now, buying girls who laugh at you." Sierra's smile thinned. "He bought me a bag, but you left him for a ride." "Be careful with the moral high ground, as it might not support both heels." The manager stared at the display case like she had not heard anything. The clerks heard everything. Gavin stepped forward. "Say that again." Wyatt turned slightly. "She said you are cheap, and she can repeat it if the words cost too much." His hand flexed. For one stupid second, Wyatt thought he might swing in the middle of Astor and Birch Boutique, under warm lights. He stands near a shelf of tiny wallets that cost more than his old rent. Gavin didn't walk away yet. He cared too much about looking rich to act poor in the wrong boutique. The manager cleared her throat, asking if they wanted to open a store card under the purchase account. They offered private previews for high-tier clients. Hearing this, Vanessa went completely still. The next knife was already on the table. Gavin had hesitated over one bag. He smiled at the manager, putting 500,000 on it under Sierra Lane. She stopped breathing for a beat. The clerk near the register actually looked up this time. The manager recovered fastest because expensive rooms train people to accept Insanity if it pays. The manager agreed, making Vanessa whisper, 500,000, Gavin spoke. Calling it a stunt, he tapped the black card again, approved, the manager's smile. A second clerk brought a slim store card in a black envelope and presented it to Sierra. She took it slowly as if it might burn her. Her voice came out softer, asking if it was hers. He replied, your card, your problem. If you develop taste. She looked from the envelope to him. The mockery did not disappear, it just changed shape. Less blade, more hook. Sierra Lane, devotion score. 48 to 56. Sierra opened the envelope, looking inside as if a trap might jump. Out, no limit tonight, he said. She asked for the catch, laughing when he replied boredom. Under her breath, turning to the clerk, she asked if this store card worked for private previews. The manager answered quickly, saying that for this high tier, they absolutely could invite her before seasonal releases, a clerk who once ignored Sierra. At the door now stood straighter. Vanessa's face tightened up. Vanessa understood the store card faster than the bag. The bag was just a thing. The store card was true access. A door she wanted Gavin to open had just opened for Sierra. Because Sierra had insulted him at the exact right time, Sierra heard the manager. 2. She lifted the black envelope, not high enough to be childish, but high enough for Vanessa to see, boasting that private previews sounded much better than being told a color is not worth it. Gavin stepped forward, warning her that if she kept talking like that, someone would teach her some manners. He moved one foot. Just one. Gavin stopped. He tried to cover it by fixing his sleeve, but the manager saw, Vanessa saw, Sierra definitely saw. Her eyes flicked to him, her voice losing half its tease. She asked if he always stepped in when people threaten girls or if she was special because she cost more tonight. Both answers annoy men. Like Gavin, he said, telling her to pick one. The system was still, but she shifted closer to his side without making a big deal out of it. A second later, the system moved, going from 56 to 58. Apparently, the counterbalance system valued danger less when a woman pretended she had not noticed it. Fair, he had spent 3 years pretending not to notice danger when it wore Vanessa's perfume. She watched every exchange without seeing the actual numbers. She only saw what mattered, another woman receiving the public status she had tried to extract from Gavin. Talk about satisfaction. Was cleaner than simple revenge. It was replacement. The clerk asked Sierra if she wanted to carry the bag or have it delivered. Sierra looked right at Vanessa, declaring she would carry it because something should be seen. Brutal girl. He liked her more than he probably should have. Vanessa's face crumpled for half a second before pride taped it back together. She stepped directly toward him. Vanessa's fingers brushed the tiny card case Gavin bought her. Still, she left it on the counter. Love, loyalty, and redemption had absolutely nothing to do with that choice. She realized she had traded a devoted servant for a wealthy man who still made her feel poor. She asked Wyatt if they could talk outside, but Gavin grabbed her wrist. She snapped no. She yanked her hand free, not hard, but enough to make the store clerks notice. A sharp reaction changes the next choice, and Vanessa's did. Gavin thought he had won her, but now he had to watch her chase a man in repaired sneakers. Wyatt looked at Sierra, asking if she was done. Sierra lifted her box. Finished for tonight, she teased. Unless his ex wanted to watch. Vanessa flinched, and Gavin stepped close. Wyatt could smell his heavy cologne. Gavin sneered to enjoy the joke while it lasted. Nobody gets rich overnight without stealing or pretending, Gavin warned. Then call someone, Wyatt challenged. Tell them to make it public. Gavin stayed quiet. The manager glanced at Gavin, then looked away. Talk about a silent, absolutely devastating humiliation. Even the store staff knew who was bluffing. Wyatt walked toward the door with Sierra. Beside him, her expensive shopping bag swinging from her hand. Near the threshold, the manager called after them, promising to text Sierra Lane her exclusive preview invitation. Sierra did not even turn around. She simply raised the black envelope over her shoulder. That tiny gesture hit Vanessa harder than a shout. She had wanted entry to places where clerks remembered her. Gavin only gave her a cheap card case she refused to even touch. Vanessa quickly followed them into the corridor outside the boutique. Gavin followed her because pride is a leash too. Heavy mall noise drowned out the boutique music. Families walked past them, alongside a group of students. The Riverton State students slowed down when they recognized the bag and then recognized Wyatt. The viral student center video had clearly done its work. One student whispered that was Vanessa's ex. Another asked about the gorgeous girl holding the bag. Sierra heard them and adjusted the box higher against her hip. She did not have to say she was the replacement, the packaging said. For her, she slowed down just enough for phone cameras to catch the logo. Then glanced at Wyatt. Too much for them, he murmured, her mean, bright smile. Flashed back, Vanessa quickly caught up near the railing, accusing him of doing this. Just to punish her, Wyatt stopped. Sierra stopped too, refusing to step back. She stayed by his side, keeping the box visible. No, Wyatt told Vanessa he did. Because Sierra asked, that part should really bother her. Vanessa's eyes flared with anger, regret, and deep jealousy. Wyatt could not judge the proportions yet. But he knew her rage pointed away from Gavin. After 3 years, she cried. He bought another girl luxury gifts in one night. Her voice cracked, and Wyatt hated that a foolish part of him still recognized that sound. He had run through rain. For her, skipped meals just to buy her flowers, and desperately wanted to believe. Every delayed thank you was proof she was merely busy, not that he was entirely optional. Wyatt killed that soft part with a single sentence. After 3 years, she blocked him in 1 second. Vanessa swallowed, claiming she was angry. Wyatt corrected her. He told her to use the word she paid for. Gavin grabbed her to leave, but she refused to move. That small act of defiance was incredibly expensive in front of Gavin. His hand stayed on her arm a second too long before he noticed the students watching and let go. Sierra tightened her grip on the brand new bag. Gavin laughs right behind Vanessa, calling Wyatt's entire behavior completely pathetic. Wyatt looks right past Vanessa, saying it is still cheaper than renting Gavin's personality. Nearby students by the railing react, not loudly but just enough to sting. Gavin's jaw clenches up in anger. Vanessa steps closer, pleading with him. For 3 long years, please was Wyatt's word. Now it sounds entirely foreign to her. She reaches desperately for his sleeve, but Wyatt steps back. She misses completely. Instead, her shoulder bumps his. Accident or panic, the system does not care at all. Suddenly, Wyatt feels his phone pulse hot. He looks down at the screen. The Counterbalance System displays Vanessa Bishop's profile. Her devotion score is 11, eligible. Right below her score, the system displays Gavin Trent's name very clearly to him. His name simply sits right next to her name, like a massive, unpaid debt. Wyatt almost laughs out loud. The ex who once blocked him has suddenly become profitable. Sierra leans in very close to whisper a question, but Vanessa hears every single word. She asks Wyatt why on earth he is smiling so widely right now. He puts his phone away, telling her that this night just keeps getting cheaper. Wyatt looks from her to Gavin, who suddenly takes a hostile step forward. Vanessa quickly steps right between them. Meanwhile, his system waits for a final decision. He has to decide if his ex is still a wound or just a wallet. Vanessa Bishop became eligible the very second she bumped his shoulder outside Astor. That should have made Wyatt sentimental. Instead, it just makes him calculate. Her devotion score sits at 11, which is a massive insult to their past. Yet it proves that his latest expensive purchase really cut her quite deep. Underneath her score, Gavin Trent's name shows up like an ugly, unwashed stain. Sierra Lane notices him looking at his phone and hugs her boxed bag tightly. She jokingly asks if he is finally done torturing his emotional ex-girlfriend yet. Wyatt asks if she gets jealous easily, and Sierra just laughs it off. She replies that she simply gets expensive easily, which is a different disease. Wyatt realizes the system does not reward clean, innocent romance at all. Instead, it rewards pressure, greed, attention, and all those ugly human traits. He learns that lesson quickly, but the public drama hits much later. By midnight, the student center video spreads to half the campus. His phone constantly buzzes with messages from people who ignored him. These same people ignored him when he carried Vanessa's coffee. One of the messages comes from a famous campus streamer named Lacey Pratt. Broke college guys know her well from all her viral video clips. She smiles sweetly at lonely men while constantly running up their tab. Her message is short, challenging him to prove his wealth on her stream. She attaches a flattering photo of herself holding up a heart. Below the picture, she warns him not to bring the art girl along. Sierra looks over his shoulder at the screen and snorts in disbelief. Sierra mockingly calls her subtle, but Wyatt notes that she seems rather useful. Sierra's smile fades slightly. Jealousy does not need love to work at all. Sometimes it only takes a designer bag and another girl begging for attention. Interestingly, the Counterbalance System has not flagged Lacey Pratt as eligible just yet. Perhaps it only tracks women who actually impact his real life, not filters. He opens Black Cat Live and takes the random handle suggested after 3 failed tries. Midnight Whale, it is absurd, dramatic, and a bit embarrassing. But it is absolutely perfect for a guy who just bought revenge in a mall corridor. Lacey Pratt's stream is booming when he joins, glowing with pink lights and a hyperactive chat. The background music is low so her voice stays sweet, but a viewer already posted his clip. The video showing his sneakers, his hoodie, Ciara Lane's receipt, and the food carts. Lacey Pratt watches just 3 seconds of the clip on stream and giggles behind her hands. She calls him cute, which basically means she thinks he is anything but. She calls him tragic, adding that generous tragedy is her favorite category. The chat loves it. Ciara Lane, sitting right across from him outside the dark food court, sneers. She glares at his screen and asks if he is really letting this girl call him a tragedy. Ciara scoffs that she has been called worse for free, then Lacey spots the new viewer banner. Leaning in close to the camera, Lacey Pratt addresses her stream directly. She jokes that Midnight Whale is either a loaded guy or the saddest aquarium worker alive. The chat floods with laughing reactions. He immediately fires back by sending a single rocket. The stupidly bright animation flashes across the screen, and Lacey's smile turns razor-sharp. She calls him her rich aquarium baby. The words are cheap, but the scoreboard is very real. He drops 10 more rockets. Her voice sweetens instantly, asking where this whale came from. He types a simple reply. Lacey Pratt reads it aloud. He is fresh from a bad breakup. She puts a hand over her heart, telling him to stay because she treats loyal men right. Ciara Lane, still watching him from across the table in the quiet food court, literally gags. She mutters that the streamer only treats loaded wallets better, not actual men. He points out that Ciara does the same, making her raise the luxury boutique box. She claims she has range. The stream is now focused on his massive gifts. Minutes later, she is calling him generous, mysterious, and incredibly dangerous. He knows she hasn't earned those words, but then she makes a fatal competitive blunder. She hypes up tomorrow's big campus event, hoping to rally her audience. She complains about some icy piano girl from Riverton State trying to beat her. The rival is holding a charity recital to climb the leaderboard, which Lacey finds amusing. But they cannot let quiet girls win. She begs Midnight Whale to help her win. The chat instantly spams one name, Celeste Monroe. He actually knows who she is. He has spotted her around campus, but they have never actually interacted before. She is the student council's star pianist, widely called cold just for ignoring desperate guys. Vanessa hated her, which instantly made Celeste much more interesting. Ciara catches the name and warns him that targeting Celeste is a terrible idea. She explains that Celeste never chases anyone, men chase her instead and call it cardio. That sounds like a much better challenge than Lacey Pratt. The following afternoon, he finds her. He spots Celeste Monroe standing outside a Riverton State music room, completely normal. No flashy pink lights here, just a black sweater, sheet music, and lingering bystanders. Suddenly, a student council member blocks her path holding a clipboard. He insists that the charity event requires her to smile much more for the cameras. Warmth brings in donations, he argues. Celeste stares at his clipboard in silence. She dryly suggests that the donors can bring blankets instead. Nearby students stifle laughs. He likes her immediately, but the student council guy refuses to drop it. He warns her that Lacey Pratt is dominating the audience engagement ranking. To get support, she needs to be more approachable. Celeste Monroe does not flinch. If support requires begging, she is ready to lose with clean hands. There it is. She is the complete opposite of Vanessa and Lacey. She refuses to kneel. Especially in a broken system where bowing down is highly lucrative. Suddenly, the interface flashes. Celeste Monroe, devotion score 0, eligibility 0. No dislike and no interest, just a locked door with music behind it. Student council guy notices the protagonist standing nearby and frowns at him. He completely ignores him and looks at Celeste, demanding her phone number. The entire hallway goes so dead silent, the vending machine hum gets annoying. Celeste looks up. For what purpose, she asks. To pursue you, he replies. The student council guy laughs, saying he cannot do that, but Celeste just studies him. Not looking at his cheap shoes or hoodie, but straight at his face. She points out most men pretend to need music advice first. He denies it. Does he play? Number does he donate? No, then why give him her contact? Because he answered her directly, without wasting her time with some fake excuse. The council guy tries to argue, but Celeste raises a hand to shut him up. She takes the phone, types her contact, and hands it right back to him. She does not reward arrogance, only efficiency just this once. The system pulses. Devotion score goes from 0 to 5 points for not lying. After 3 years dealing with Vanessa, this feels like an absolute win. He does not text Celeste Monroe immediately. Instead, he pockets his phone and lets the silence work. An hour later, Sierra finds him right outside the art studio, looking suspicious. She holds an Astor and Birch boutique box on her hip, looking highly skeptical. A quick rumor goes around about him, hitting on Celeste in front of everyone. Rumor works fast, she remarks. He playfully asks if she is complaining. Sierra looks away, muttering about emotional damages on her store card. Jealousy has officially arrived, wrapped in heavy sarcasm. The system loves it. Her score rises from 58 to 59, a minor bump but a real one. That night, the livestream pits Lacey Pratt against Celeste Monroe. Lacey has got fancy lights, jokes, and a very revealing designer dress. Celeste Monroe has just a plain camera, a piano, and a stern face. She looks completely prepared to lose rather than flirt with random strangers. Lacey messages him before the duel begins, asking him to support her side. Promising a proper thank you, she warns him not to support Celeste. She even jokes that Celeste probably thinks his cheap hoodie is contagious. He stares at the text, then at Celeste's quiet stream. She has not asked for a single dollar. That makes sending his first big rocket gift to Celeste feel incredibly satisfying. Lacey Pratt's smile stays frozen for 2 seconds, thinking the gift is hers. But when the screen lights up for Celeste, Lacey's private messages instantly spam him. She asks if he hit the wrong side. He just ignores her text. Instead, he drops another rocket on Celeste's stream and replies with a simple no. Then Lacey reads the live system banner. Midnight Whales has sent another gift. Her perfect screen smile instantly cracks. Sierra, watching over his shoulder, gasps. She whispers that he is absolutely evil. He just smiles and calls it efficiency. She whispered that he was evil, but Wyatt just called it efficient, sending another blow. Rockets fly to Celeste Monroe, 10 then 100, the leaderboard shifts, Lacey Pratt. Laughs too brightly, saying the new whale clicked wrong. Teasingly, she adds that her button is pink. He ignores her and types in Celeste Monroe's quiet chat. Instantly, the chat explodes, not because his line is good, because it is not. It is blunt and petty, but petty words become poetry when backed by cash. He fires off another wave of rockets, sending a massive banner stretching across. Both live streams, Midnight Whale pushes Celeste Monroe straight to number 1, Lacey Pratt. Stops laughing, Celeste Monroe stops playing her piano for half a second, her hands hover right above the keys. She stares at the camera, completely expressionless. She says Midnight Whale out loud, clear enough for both chats. To clip when she says she did not ask for this, he replies that is exactly why she got it. Sierra makes a strange noise beside him. It is not disgust, but pure heavy annoyance. The system flashes. Talk about a massive jump. Celeste's devotion climbs. From 5 to 18, Lacey Pratt tries to recover, calling her sweetheart. She tells her viewers not to let some girl playing funeral music steal their night. He launches even more rockets to Celeste Monroe, pushing past 1 million. Lacey Pratt stops reading chat as the total hits 3 million. Celeste Monroe's stream lags from the insane traffic. The total crosses 7 million. Lacey Pratt tries to laugh again, completely missing the beat. Celeste complains that he is embarrassing her. He types back that embarrassment was not his goal. Sierra Lane slams the table, looking half scandalized and half deeply impressed. She tells him he invoices emotionally, and he claims he learned from the best Vanessa Payne, he says. The campus event page shoves Celeste Monroe's camera feed onto the front banner. At $10 million, Black Cat Live fills the screen with a gaudy leaderboard animation that looks illegal. Midnight Whale crowns Celeste Monroe. Lacey Pratt loses the duel, her chat in the right to pretend she does not care. Her viewers turn on her before she can save herself. She spits his handle like a sugar-coated curse, calling out Midnight Whale to message her after stream because they need to talk. He simply closes her tab. That does not stop her. 3 private messages hit his phone before Celeste's camera even fades. She texts that she can be nice offline, warning him not to waste 10 million on a girl who will not even call him baby. Sierra Lane reads this over shoulder and rolls her eyes. She hates that line because it actually works on half men. He fires back that the other half cannot afford her humiliation. He leaves Lacey Pratt unread, which is much cheaper and somehow far meaner. A minute later, Celeste Monroe's contact lights up on his phone with a simple message asking why. He replies she did not beg, typing dots flicker. appearing and disappearing. Finally, she replies, suggesting a quiet, low-key lunch tomorrow. With no audience, he looks at Sierra, who is pretending not to stare. He asks if there is a problem. Sierra replies she just hopes this goddess likes. Riding on whatever cheap vehicle matches his worn-out hoodie, smiling, the next morning he rolls up to the campus gate on his beat-up scooter. Celeste Monroe stands there with a simple shoulder bag and no entourage. Several nearby students slow down when she walks right toward him. One guy looks behind him, searching for a hidden luxury car. There is none. Celeste Monroe simply glances at the scooter. She asks if this is really his. $10 million last night, and now this. It still starts. She studies him, guessing he is either hiding secrets or careless. Either way, lunch is on him. That earns a small smile. The system immediately registers it, bumping her devotion from 18 to 22. 22 still means absolutely nothing. No trust, no affection, zero loyalty. Just basic curiosity with a receipt attached. Still, curiosity gets fast results. He got further in 2 days than 3 years of blind devotion. Celeste Monroe grabs the spare helmet. The campus watches. A student raises a phone. Whispers break out asking if that is really her. She hears it. She does not care. She fastens the strap and shows her face. No hiding, no asking him to park far away. She sits behind. She rides like it is a proud choice, not an embarrassing downgrade. That choice speaks volumes. The untouchable girl who never begs just hopped on the former simp scooter, right after his viral stream. Sierra watches them pass the art building. Vanessa sees the clip later. His phone buzzes instantly. She typed and deleted a message 3 times. She sends nothing. Meanwhile, Celeste picks the quiet Pier 9 diner. It is cheap and secluded, perfect before other people arrive to ruin it. They take a window booth. She puts her helmet on the table. No hiding under the seats. Another bold statement. Talk about a statement. The waitress pours coffee. Celeste thanks her quickly, then locks her gaze. She looks right at him. Before they order, she confronts him directly. She wants to know if she was a person last night or just a weapon. That question cuts sharp because it is totally fair. He says both. Her eyes narrow. He explains she was a person who never begged. And that specific trait is exactly what made her a better weapon. She does not smile. She respects honest damage, but respect is not approval. She warns him she does not sell her attention for any price. If last night was a transaction, she is ready to leave immediately. He fires back. If he wanted bought attention, he would have kept Lacey. She was cheaper emotionally. Celeste smirks. She asks what he really wants. He could lie. He could play the victim and say healing or destiny. Words men use to get applause. Instead, he drops a dangerous truth. He is done being the rebound guy when richer men are busy. Celeste does not pity him. She just nods, respecting the raw weight. Then do not use me as proof of your recovery, she says. He agrees. Last night was simply proof that he can make choices. Today is about finding out if those choices bite. She looks down. They might, she warns. He welcomes it. Soft things make him stupid. She actually laughs, a quick, cold breath gone before it brings warmth. The system stays still. That makes her laughter feel completely real. Then the diner door chime rings. In walks Vanessa Bishop first. Gavin Trent follows closely, keeping his hand low as his eyes scan. He spots them. He spots Celeste sitting right across from him. His smirk turns toxic. Vanessa immediately looks over, locking eyes. Monroe's helmet rested on the seat beside him. She saw the coffee, the quiet table. Woman she could not outrank by crying. Gavin pulled a folded stack of cash from his pocket and slapped it onto their table. Bills slid against Celeste. Monroe's coffee cup. Move, Gavin told him. He was buying the seat. Celeste went still. He looked at the cash, then at Gavin. The Rockets had made midnight. Whale famous. The bag had made Vanessa regret, but Gavin Trent had just handed him something better than money, a public reason to stand up. Gavin Trent had just slapped cash onto his table and ordered him to move. The bills slid across Pier 9. Diner bumped Celeste Monroe's coffee cup and stopped beside his fork. Celeste looked at the money first, then she looked at Gavin. You buy seats now? Celeste asked. Gavin smiled at her like he had practiced being charming in mirrors that could not talk back. I buy peace. Why make scenes? You deserve a quieter lunch. Vanessa Bishop stood behind him with one hand on her purse strap. She had followed him into the diner, but her eyes were already on him. Not Celeste, not the cash. Him, that was new. For 3 years he had been the man waiting behind her life. Now she had walked in with Gavin and Looked at his face first. The counterbalance system pulsed in his. Pocket Vanessa Bishop, devotion score 11 to 18. Jealousy was ugly, it was. Efficient, Gavin tapped the cash with 2 fingers. Take it, buy lunch. Somewhere else, maybe somewhere with pictures on the menu, the waitress at. The counter stopped wiping glasses. 2 students in the booth behind them lowered their fries and started listening with their whole bodies. He picked up one. Bill, Gavin's smile widened. He used the bill to dab a drop of coffee off the table, then set it back on the pile. Your money is quite absorbent, he said, still not persuasive. The booth behind them made one small choking sound. Celeste covered her mouth with her cup, but her eyes gave her away. Gavin's smile died slowly. Enough to be satisfying. He turned on the waitress because men like Gavin always look for someone safer to punish. Clear this booth, Gavin demanded. He is bothering them. The waitress looked at him, then at Celeste, then at the cash on the table. They were seated first. Gavin snapped to clear it. The diner manager had not come out yet. The waitress stood alone with a coffee pot in one hand and a rich boy trying to make her part of his tantrum. The old him would have lowered his head so nobody else got dragged into his humiliation. The new him picked up the menu, asking the waitress if they still had the strawberry pie. She blinked. Yes, how many slices? Maybe 18, he said. Bring all of them, every table with a woman gets dessert on Celeste Monroe's bill. Celeste's eyes moved to him. Gavin laughed. He was buying pie now. He tried to buy his seat, but he was buying the entire room. The waitress stared at the black beside the napkin holder. Sir, that is a lot of pie. Then the women here will survive tragedy. Celeste murmured his name under her breath, half warning and half amusement. He looked at her. Too much, she smiled. Continue. The waitress took the card to the counter. Gavin watched her, expecting the whole diner to be saved by a decline. The payment cleared and the waitress brought the first plates out herself. That did something Gavin did not understand until it was too late. The woman at the counter, the older lady by the window, and the girls studying near the jukebox all stared. The crowd watched differently now. Gavin had just thrown cash at Wyatt. But Wyatt turned that insult into free dessert for everyone. Soon, the waitress placed sweet slices in front of Celeste and Vanessa first, leaving Gavin for last. Vanessa stared down at her plate, whispering that Gavin never bought her dessert. The words slipped out. Gavin heard them clearly, and so did everyone else. The counterbalance system pulsed. Vanessa Bishop, devotion score 18 to 23. Gavin clenched his jaw, scoffing that she was actually impressed by pie. Vanessa looked at the neat strawberry slice, then at his thrown cash. She preferred someone who did not make her beg. Gavin reached for his cash. He wanted to pull back the cash, but Wyatt pinned a single bill down. Leave it, Wyatt said. It matches the floor. Vanessa whispered for Wyatt to stop. Wyatt asked her what she meant, but she had no answer to save face. Gavin leaned in, asking if last night made Wyatt think he was untouchable. Wyatt replied that touching him was just a very bad investment. Gavin laughed. He sneered at Celeste, calling Wyatt a dumped loser playing with a borrowed card. He threw money around to feel important, but Celeste stared back coldly. She calmly remarked that Wyatt was already a person before he got the card. That public correction hit hard. Vanessa heard it, her hand tightening on her purse. The system pulsed again. Vanessa Bishop, devotion score 23 to 31. Gavin saw her staring and desperately tried to claw back his authority. He ordered Vanessa to tell him this little performance was sad. Vanessa blinked, confused. Gavin barked at her to call Wyatt's performance sad. She looked at Wyatt. The old Vanessa would have happily complied. She would have used that quiet, disappointed voice to mock his pride. But now she saw gorgeous Celeste sitting with Wyatt, plus that sleek helmet. She saw the cash Gavin threw like garbage and hesitated, stinging his pride. Gavin repeated her name, but the diner door swung open before she replied. A beautiful woman in a fitted coat stepped inside, scanned the room, and froze. Her eyes locked onto Gavin. She was older, with an elegance that eclipsed everyone. She made Pier 9 look incredibly cheap. She glanced at Vanessa, then Gavin. She looked at his hand near the messy cash and scoffed in disbelief. Gavin turned, the color completely draining from his face as he panicked. Vanessa instantly realized a deeper story was playing out here. Vanessa demanded to know who she was. The woman let out a bitter laugh. She suggested Vanessa ask Gavin who he claimed she was. The diner went silent. Gavin snapped that this was not the place, but she mocked his excuse. He claimed he was taking his cousin to lunch, so she asked Vanessa directly. Vanessa sat there completely speechless, and the system pulsed again. Vanessa Bishop, devotion score 31 to 43. Wyatt had not even planned this. Talk about instant karma, Celeste calmly set her coffee cup down. She joked that this table was getting popular. Gavin pointed angrily. He ordered her to leave, but she stepped even closer instead. She mentioned he left his jacket in her car. Gavin grabbed her wrist. He barked at her to leave, instantly shifting the room's energy. His fingers tighten. Everyone stops gossiping, instantly sensing the sudden, heavy tension. The woman struggles. Vanessa calls his name sharply, trying to intervene. She demands he let her go, but he refuses as the system flashes. Vanessa's devotion rises, 43 to 56, as Gavin glares at them. Too late, Gavin realizes. The scattered cash and his aggression make him look guilty. Trapped on a stage of his own making, Gavin tries to shift the blame. He shoves the woman away and turns his rage toward our main character. Gavin yells that this is his fault, blaming him for his own schedule. A student laughs. Instantly, Gavin swings his arm toward the table in anger. He swiped his hand, sending cash flying across the floor, right under Celeste's shoes. Gavin reaches out. He has no idea his latent strength is finally waking. He used to be the weakling who carried Vanessa's groceries, calling it romance. But he has one secret advantage now. He has stopped caring about looking bad. As Gavin reaches for his collar, he stands and slams the table into his thigh. Gavin stumbles forward. He immediately catches his wrist with both hands. He pins Gavin's hand flat against the tabletop, making the coffee cup rattle. Gavin hisses in pain, while the woman he grabbed backs away toward the counter. The waitress steps in to shield her, and Celeste rises from her seat. She tells him to stop. Gavin desperately tries to break the grip. Gavin snarls to let go, but he calmly replies that Patience bought this seat. He jokes about Gavin's scattered cash, while Vanessa stares at his pinned hand. She looks from Gavin to our hero as the system updates in real time. Her devotion jumps to 74, driving Gavin completely over the edge with jealousy. He rips free instantly. His hand goes toward the woman again. That was his second major mistake, and honestly, he is going to regret it. Vanessa's devotion score rapidly climbs all the way from 74 to 95. Devotion lock triggers, completing the target reversal and awarding new attribute points. Gavin strikes. Raw power surges through our hero, almost distracting him. The system pours raw strength through his arms like liquid heat. Skipping the detailed menu, he quickly makes his choice. He immediately dumps his stats into strength and agility to counter Gavin's swing. Time slows down, turning Gavin's fast strike into a completely predictable path. He steps in. One hand is all it takes to catch Gavin's wrist, stopping the punch just 6 inches from the woman's face, shocking everyone watching. Gavin's eyes go wide, whispering in shock, while he calmly mocks him back. He twists Gavin's wrist and hooks his ankle to send him crashing down. With one brutal motion, he slams Gavin face first onto the hard floor. Talk about a satisfying shutdown. The loose cash scatters everywhere around them. Security is called, but he quickly insists there is no need for that. He told her there was no need if the guy left, while Gavin struggled to push up. Gavin's arm collapsed, spitting out a bitter question, but Wyatt simply shook his head. The rescued woman quickly explains to Vanessa that Gavin claimed to be single. Vanessa ignores her completely, instead staring at our hero in absolute shock. It is as if the weak boy she knew was suddenly replaced by a stranger. The system pulses again, and a new counterattack reward unlocks. Balance updated, attributes stabilized. The only useful part was simple: 3 years of humiliation, paid back with an unstoppable body. A body Gavin cannot bully. Gavin stops. The manager steps out. He points right at the door, telling Gavin to get out now. That humiliation stings. A guy like Gavin can easily explain away a fight. He can even brag about it, but being treated like a public nuisance. That hurts. He stands up slowly, fixing his jacket with trembling hands. Vanessa steps back when he reaches for her. He notices. Everyone notices. Gavin warns her in a low voice, but she just stares. At the money, you threw cash at him, she says, embarrassing us both. That is the first time Vanessa has ever called him out publicly. Her fate was already sealed, but the words still carry weight. Gavin's face twists. He asks if she is choosing him now. Vanessa looks over, and for 1 second, the room waits for a love story. He kills it instantly. Do not treat me like an option, he says. Vanessa flinches. Good. She spent 3 years treating him like a total backup plan. He is not going back just because her regret is suddenly profitable. Gavin storms out. The woman in the coat follows the manager for a statement. But our main character does not stick around. The result is already clear. The rich replacement walked in with cash and walked out with absolutely nothing. No table, no girl by his side, and cameras recording his back. Celeste picks up a single bill from under her shoe and sets it down. Asking if he wants his dignity with the refund, he looks down. He did not bring enough, he replies. Celeste smiles. The system pulses. Celeste Monroe. Her devotion score rises from 22 to 31. The protector trait is dangerous. Selfish moves suddenly look noble to outsiders. But Celeste sees right through it. She slides the bill forward. Asking if he was protecting her, punishing Gavin, or just showing off. Yes, he answers. She narrows her eyes, calling it a terrible response. But it is accurate. Inside, the woman in the coat speaks. Softly to the manager, Vanessa stands near the door, watching him closely. She wants to step in, but has nothing prepared to say. The waitress clears plates every time she passes Gavin's abandoned cash. She steps right over it like trash. She is not paid enough. Celeste follows his gaze, noting he enjoys making arrogant men look small. They keep volunteering, he replies. She asks about the women. Sharp question, he looks at Vanessa through the glass from outside. Some women used to make him feel small too, he admits. Now he is learning who deserves a door and who deserves a mirror. Celeste does not soften or praise him, she just grabs the spare helmet. Holding it tight, warning him not to confuse the two. He is trying hard. Celeste gets to him for one reason. Sierra tested his money. Vanessa tested his scars, but Celeste tests if he can stay useful. Without pretending he is clean, before he can answer, Vanessa steps closer. To the door, staring through the glass. The begging part of the payoff is here. Silence returned to the space. Vanessa called out his name, but he ignored her completely. She begged him to talk outside, while Celeste watched them both with a quiet gaze. Celeste did not claim him, but she did not back down as the helmet sat waiting. It felt like a quiet challenge, and Wyatt followed Vanessa outside for a brief chat. They needed fresh air, and the glass of Pier 9 diner reflected the tense room. He could see Celeste sitting calmly inside, alongside other students pretending they were not filming. He watched Vanessa standing right in front of him, her pride completely cracked open. Vanessa hugged herself tightly, whispering that she had no idea Gavin was actually like that. Wyatt countered that she knew enough, prompting her to swallow hard and explain her anger. She had chosen Gavin's car, thinking he could offer a life, but he only gave her a card case. That ugly truth hit hard. Her eyes welled with tears, and he hated recognizing her pre-cry breath. She stepped closer, whispering that he had changed, but he quietly corrected her. He told her she simply stopped getting the cheap version. She reached out. This time he let her touch his sleeve for a single second, just long enough for both of them. To remember the painful nights he had spent begging for much smaller crumbs. Then he pulled back. Her hand dropped immediately. She whispered his name, crying that she had made a terrible mistake. The system remained completely silent. His devotion lock had already done its cold job. That made everything cleaner. Wyatt told her she made a choice, and mistake was too innocent. She wiped her wet cheek with the back of her hand, begging to start over. Wyatt almost laughed, a reaction straight from his old self, the boy who once begged for those words. Without knowing that hearing them now would only fill him with complete disgust. He firmly told her no. Vanessa stared, so he repeated the word clearly. It seemed the rejection did not fit her perfect world. Vanessa's face completely crumpled. Wyatt reminded her he spent 3 years trying to earn a place beside her. He was forced to audition for basic decency, yet Gavin's single failure made her remember him. She cried that it was not fair, but neither was her audition. She covered her mouth. Behind the glass, Celeste stood up as Sierra's name suddenly flashed on his phone. A new message preview illuminated the screen right over his quiet system interface. The text asked if Gavin really got folded at Pier 9, wanting details on the fall. Even after all of that, Wyatt smiled, and Vanessa knew the look was not for her. His devotion lock had closed the first wound. It did not erase his painful scars. Honestly, seeing him completely immune to her old games is the ultimate satisfaction. Wyatt walked back inside. Celeste held up the helmets, asking if they were leaving. He nodded yes. Celeste glanced through the glass toward Vanessa, asking if she was coming. Celeste handed him his helmet first, a tiny detail that mattered immensely. Instead of inspecting him for damage, she simply gave him the tool to keep moving. They rode back to campus in silence. Surprisingly, his hands felt different on the grips. They felt much steadier. The system had not turned him into some legendary superhero. Instead, it turned his old humiliation into a warning label for anyone foolish enough. Do not touch what Wyatt is protecting. The next morning, he woke to loud knocking. Not just one knock, but three. His dorm hallway was packed with voices and perfume. It was the tense energy that made anyone open a door slowly. Wyatt pulled it open. Vanessa stood there holding a breakfast box with both hands, while Sierra Lane stood right beside her with a takeout bag, one eyebrow raised like she came for drama. On the other side stood Celeste Monroe, holding a plain, simple bag. Thermos and his spare helmet hooked over her wrist. The women stared at one another, then they all looked at him. The system stayed completely silent. Breakfast had become an absolute battlefield. 3 women stood outside his dorm room, with breakfast looking like they had all been invited to a funeral, and decided to compete over flowers. Vanessa Bishop held a neat white cafe box. The ribbon alone looked far more apologetic than she had ever been. For 3 years, Sierra Lane held a takeout bag so large it sagged. Grease stained the paper. She looked proud of that. Celeste Monroe held a plain thermos, a paper-wrapped bowl, and his spare helmet. The hallway went quiet. Behind them, 2 guys from his floor stopped pretending to tie their shoes. A girl carrying laundry slowed down until a sock fell out. Yesterday, Gavin Trent had thrown cash at his table. This morning, women blocked his door with breakfast. The counterbalance system did not make a sound. It did not need to. The hallway was the notification. Vanessa spoke first because regret hates silence. Wyatt, she said, holding out the box. I brought breakfast. You used to like those cafe croissants. Wyatt stared at the box. He had bought her those croissants. She ate them while he drank tap water from a campus fountain and told himself being useful was close to being loved. Sierra glanced at the ribbon and snorted, a croissant apology, bold, flaky, and gone in 4 bites. Vanessa's eyes sharpened. At least mine came from a real cafe. Sierra lifted her takeout bag. Mine came from volume, men who get thrown into emotional traffic need calories. You mean grease, Vanessa countered. I mean survival, Sierra replied. Try feeding someone before you replace them. The laundry girl froze. Celeste did not enter the fight. That made Wyatt look at her first. She noticed immediately, of course. I brought broth, Celeste said, spicy, no onions, extra egg. The waitress said you picked onions out of your lunch before Gavin ruined the table. The hallway shifted. Sierra eyed the thermos. Vanessa stared at Wyatt. He looked at Celeste. She had noticed a detail from a barely finished meal. That hit harder than the cafe ribbon and the giant bag combined. For 3 years, Vanessa knew what flowers she liked, what drinks she wanted, what deadline she had. Forgotten what coat she expected him to carry. She never knew how he ordered food unless she ordered it for herself first. Celeste watched once, then she brought the right bowl. The system pulsed. Celeste Monroe, devotion. Score 31-39. Sierra saw his face and hated the scoreboard she could not see. Fine, Sierra muttered. The goddess wins the detective round. But does her broth come with hash browns? No, or enough biscuits to repair a soul? Also no. Vanessa stepped closer. Wyatt, can I come in? Every head in the hallway turned. The game was rank. If he let Vanessa into the room first, she became the ex who returned and reclaimed territory. If he let Sierra in first, the hallway would turn it into a materialist victory. If he let Celeste in first, both would blade. He took the thermos from Celeste. Vanessa's face tightened. Sierra clicked her tongue, then he took Sierra's giant bag with his other hand. Sierra's expression recovered instantly. Wyatt just notes her balanced diet, then stares at the box Vanessa holds out with both hands. He refuses to take it, telling her to put it on the common table for anyone to eat. Vanessa freezes. The 2 guys near the stairs react before she does. One whispers about free croissants. Nearby, Sierra covers a laugh pretty badly. Her eyes flare. She claims he is giving away her apology, but Wyatt is just sharing breakfast. That is what she brought, right? Vanessa has no clean answer as Celeste watches. Celeste looks from the thermos in Wyatt's hand right back to Vanessa. She murmurs that breakfast without knowing his taste is just noise, and Vanessa definitely feels the burn. No names were needed. The whole hallway hears it, yet Celeste Monroe never raises her voice. She does not smirk, simply sliding the knife exactly where the old wound already is. The system pulses. Celeste Monroe. Her devotion score rises from 39 to 44. Sierra leans closer to Wyatt, murmuring that she hates when the quiet girls stab much better. Stab cheaper, he says. She claims her high brand standards make that impossible. Her devotion score ticks upward, climbing from 59 to 61. This breakfast war could have ended here, but absolutely nobody at his door is reasonable. Vanessa steps inside without permission, placing her box on Wyatt's desk like reclaiming a shrine. Sierra slips right past her, setting a massive takeout bag directly onto his bed. Celeste waits patiently at the doorway until Wyatt finally steps aside to let her in. That makes her dangerous. She turns simple permission into genuine respect instead of weakness. The inside of his dorm room looks exactly like any broke guy's room should. No miracle has brought furniture yet, just a thin blanket and worn chair. An old laptop, a taped phone charger, and one clean shirt are visible. It hangs from the closet door because the rest of his clothes sit in a laundry bag. After ignoring it for 2 days, Vanessa sees the room and softens in the wrong way. She asks if he still lives like this, but Sierra warns her that pity is no condiment. Celeste walks over to his desk, picks up Wyatt's phone and turns it in her hand. The cracked corner catches the light. She asks him if the battery dies quickly. It survives out of spite, Wyatt answers. She points out that is not a real strategy. She reaches into her bag, pulling out a sealed box containing a brand new phone. It is clean, black, and expensive enough to make the two guys at the doorway gasp. Vanessa stares, asking if she bought him a phone. Celeste sets it on Wyatt's desk. She notes he runs his stream on a cracked screen, which is highly inefficient. Sierra crosses her arms, calling the gift a business insult. Celeste counters that useful gifts survive longer than dramatic ones. Wyatt looks at her. He says he didn't ask, but she smoothly replies that is exactly why she brought it. That should have annoyed him, but it does the opposite. Wyatt had been swinging money around blindly. Now Celeste has used precise attention, like a razor-sharp blade. The system pulses. Celeste's devotion score jumps from 44 to 52 as Vanessa steps closer. Vanessa begs, admitting she was stupid, but can make it right. Sierra points at the phone. Can she uncrack his screen? Sierra asks, since the goddess already moved. Ignoring her completely, she claims she knows things about Wyatt too, but he just stares back. He challenges her to name one thing he likes that she never asked him about first. Her mouth opens, but nothing comes out. Her deep silence does all the talking here. He simply picks up the thermos, opening it as spicy broth aroma fills the space. The guy at the door whispers that it smells insane, while Sierra warns him not to touch it. Celeste hands Wyatt the paper bowl, joking about emotional damages. He takes a bite. It tastes perfect. Vanessa looks away first. That should have ended the morning. But the system does what it always does, turning a human moment into profit. Right on cue, Celeste's phone suddenly begins to buzz loudly. She checks the screen and frowns. Blackette Live is asking for a performance room. After last night, she says they want more campus music events. They want Celeste on camera again, making Sierra's eyebrows shoot straight up. The platform wants the quiet girl because a whale donor made her expensive. Celeste tells Wyatt she refuses to beg donors on stream, and he completely agrees. She needs a stage that does not feel like a cheap sales booth. It is a status problem with a very human face, a proud woman. She needs a proper stage, so Wyatt immediately checks his system wallet. Still loaded, still waiting, he asks her what kind of room she wants. Celeste wants something quiet with good light, space for a piano, and zero noise. No guys hanging around pretending to study, making a bystander flinch in guilt. Wyatt pulls up a high-end property listing he saved the night before. Honestly, having this level of wealth makes your casual scrolling pretty dangerous. A stunning lakeside estate with a private glass-walled music room. Plenty of space to turn silence into status. Wyatt shows Celeste the photos. She stares at the screen, and Sierra quickly peeks over his shoulder. That is not a room, Sierra says. That is a rich person apology to water. Vanessa asks quietly if he is buying houses now. Wyatt shrugs it off. He says a room with walls is usually called a house anyway. Celeste calls it excessive, explaining she only meant a quiet room on campus. Wyatt counters that reserved rooms always come with managers telling her to smile. That hits home. She looks at him, and Wyatt immediately hits the contact button. Within 10 minutes, a seller from Riverside Estates is calling them back. 20 minutes later, they get a private link showing the entire lake house. Over speaker, the seller promises instant keys if they can pay immediately. If Wyatt can close the deal now, access is granted today. Celeste looks sharp, warning Wyatt not to turn her music into a cage. Wyatt gives her a completely straight answer. He is not buying her. He is buying the room so nobody else can ever price her dignity. Vanessa looks completely stunned by his words, while Sierra watches Celeste closely. Sierra actually stops joking. Celeste asks quietly whose name will be listed. Yours, Wyatt replies, causing Vanessa to gasp and Sierra to freeze. Celeste goes entirely numb, calling the whole thing absolutely insane. She warns him she could sell it, but he just laughs it off. If she refuses, Wyatt threatens to buy an even louder one for Sierra. Sierra raises a finger in full support. Celeste almost smiles at the banter. Wyatt tells the agent to register the estate under Celeste Monroe's name. He demands the keys today, along with a custom crystal piano delivery. Celeste blinks in pure disbelief, while Sierra demands to know what that is. If Blackette Live wants a campus legend, they are going to film an expensive one. Wyatt wants something so wildly high-end it will make Lacey Pratt choke with envy. He takes back several insults, not all just some, the seller asks for. Confirmation of funds. He taps his black card through the secure payment. Prompt approved, a quiet chime. The silence afterward is absolute. Is massive, then Celeste's phone buzzes. She looks down, an access code has arrived under her name. The transaction goes through. A door at Riverside Estates opens because her name replaced the seller's on the screen. Sierra lines over Celeste's shoulder, reading it before Celeste can even hide the phone. That is a key code, Sierra says. Temporary access, Celeste replies, but her voice has lost its usual sharp edge. Temporary access to a lake house, Sierra points out. Rich people use temporary to make theft sound polite. Talk about instant regret. Vanessa stares at the message as if it did what 3 years of dating could not. It put his money under another woman's name without asking Vanessa for her approval. The guys in the hallway creep back to the doorway. One of them sees the Riverside Estates photo still on Wyatt's laptop and whispers that the place has a private dock. Celeste hears him and closes the laptop halfway. Wyatt opens it again. Let them see, he says. She looks at him. Why? Because hiding makes generous gestures look dirty. Sierra points right at him. That is almost emotionally healthy. He hates it. A knock hits the open door. Frame before Celeste can answer. A courier stands in the hall with a slim envelope and a tablet. He looks from the 3 women to Wyatt, then wisely decides that questions are above his pay grade. Delivery for Celeste Monroe, he says. Celeste does not move. Sierra nudges her. If you faint, I am stealing your lake. Celeste takes the envelope and signs the tablet. Inside is a metal key, a glossy card with the Riverside Estates gate code, and a printed delivery note for the crystal piano slot. Wyatt added like a madman with an unlimited budget. The key is the real damage. A screen can be a stunt, but a real key, that is actual weight. It makes the air around Celeste heavy. It makes Sierra stop joking for 3 full seconds. It makes Vanessa look at the breakfast box she brought like the ribbon betrayed her. Celeste holds the key flat on her palm, saying this is too much, then use it well. Wyatt replies. The system pulses. Celeste Monroe, devotion score 52-68. Counterbalance, wallet remaining, still too much for his nervous system to process. Celeste sits slowly in his desk chair, resting her hand on the phone box she brought him. Her control slips enough to reveal the vulnerable girl under the campus goddess. Why would you trust me with that? She asks. Because you asked whether you were a person or a weapon. Wyatt answers, weapons do not get keys, people do. That is almost too noble, so he fixes it before anyone gets the wrong idea. Plus, if her devotion score climbs, he profits. Sierra slaps his shoulder, saying there he is. Celeste laughs. Once quiet and unwilling, the system pulses again. Celeste Monroe, devotion score 68-72. Vanessa turns toward the door. Her breakfast box still sits untouched on the common table outside, and someone has already opened it. She sees the hallway guys eating her apology, looking like the universe chose violence with pastry crumbs. Wyatt, she says softly, was anything I gave you ever enough? That question begs for comfort, but he refuses. You gave me things after I begged, he says. Celeste brought broth after watching once. Vanessa left before the sentence could finish hurting. Sierra watched her go, then looked at Celeste's new phone box on Wyatt's desk, the lake house listing on his screen, and the takeout bag on his bed. So breakfast ranking is over. Sierra asked for today and she lost. Celeste answered before Wyatt could. You brought enough food for a floor. That is useful. Sierra narrowed her eyes. Do not compliment her politely. It feels hostile. Celeste stood and picked up her thermos. Then improve, she said. Sierra stared at her. Wyatt did not know it then, but that line stayed with Sierra longer than the bag, the store card, or even the Jealousy, Sierra liked being wanted. Celeste had made her want to be. Necessary, that was far more dangerous. The morning broke apart after that. Celeste left with the key code to a gorgeous lake house under her name and a phone message from Black Cat Live asking when she wanted to stream again. Sierra took half the breakfast bag to the art studio and acted as if she had not watched Celeste win the whole room. Vanessa disappeared down the hallway before her pride could leak any further. Wyatt spent the afternoon doing what rich idiots do when they should rest. He looked at the system screen and pretended numbers that large were normal. Celeste sent one photo at sunset. The Riverside Estates lake house stood against the water, all glass and quiet light, in the empty music room. She had placed Wyatt's spare helmet on the floor where the crystal piano would go. Her message said, "It starts with a room, it does not become a cage." Wyatt replied, "Then keep the door unlocked for the people who truly deserve music." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No answer. The system still moved. Celeste Monroe, devotion score 72 to 74. Women who did not beg were the problem. There. Silence cost more. At night, Sierra called Wyatt, not texted, called when he answered. Her voice had lost every sharp edge. "Wyatt," Sierra said, "are you on campus?" "Yes, don't joke." He sat up, hearing arcade machines behind her. Then a crash, then a man's voice telling someone to stop hiding behind a daughter. "Sierra," Wyatt said, "where are you?" She tried to laugh and failed. "My father's arcade," she whispered. Another crash hit the line. A man shouted, "Either she signs or we take the machines tonight." Sierra's breathing shook. She thought it was just debt. They came in person. The girl who had treated a designer bag like a trophy sounded smaller than the receipt in her pocket. The system highlighted her profile. Sierra Lane, devotion score 61, eligible, high pressure rescue event detected. For 2 seconds, Wyatt looked at the screen and saw exactly what the old him would have done. He would have panicked, called someone else, asked permission from fear, and arrived too late. He grabbed the black card, the cracked old phone, and the strength in his hands that Gavin had taught him to trust. "Stay where he can hear her," he told Sierra. "Wyatt, there are 3 of them." Then they should have brought breakfast. He was already out the door before she understood the joke was only there to keep her breathing. The next question was ugly and simple. Was Sierra Lane just his first spending target, or was she under his protection now? Sierra Lane stayed on the phone while Wyatt crossed campus toward her father's arcade. She tried to sound bored. She failed so badly he almost respected the effort. "They are just collectors," she said. "Cheap suits, big mouths. One of them keeps kicking the he slams the claw machine like it owes him cash." Another crash cuts the line. A man's voice barks over the speaker, "Sign it or we empty the place." Sierra goes silent. Wyatt demands she speak. Her voice returns, smaller now. "They want her to sign." Her dad used her name on a loan, and she had no idea how bad things were. Wait, things just got incredibly real. This situation is way past simple shopping tests or girls pushing limits to see if his card would blade. This is raw fear. The system pulses. Sierra Lane, devotion score 61, high pressure rescue event active. Wyatt puts his phone on speaker and keeps moving, asking how many there are. 3. Any weapons? One has a crowbar. Wyatt tells her that is embarrassing and she sighs. He says wait until he arrives. She lets out a breath that almost becomes a laugh. That is enough. People who can laugh while scared still have a grip on things. The arcade sits on a side street near campus, wedged beside a closed pizza place. At a quiet laundromat, its neon sign buzzes unevenly in the dim light. Inside, the machines flash, as if pretending no one is being threatened. Under their bright lights, Wyatt walks right through the front door. The first debt collector has one hand on a prize machine, looking smug. The second holds a clipboard, with Sierra's signature line already circled. The third blocks an older man behind the counter, keeping him trapped. Phone clutched tightly, she looks up at Wyatt. Her face does something she hates. It shows pure relief before pride can stop it. The first collector looks Wyatt over. He sneers at Wyatt's hoodie and empty hands, asking if he is the boyfriend. "Depends on the invoice," Wyatt replies. Sierra's eyes widen in disbelief. She cannot believe his entrance line. The second collector waves his clipboard. He barks that this is family business. Wyatt asks why she is shaking. The older man tells Wyatt to leave, but Sierra quickly cuts him off. Wyatt does not need his name or a life story. The debt tells everything. One crowbar and Sierra's face explain everything. The first collector taps the glass. He says her dad owes and she co-signed. They take the machines or she signs. Wyatt looks at the circled signature line and calmly asks how much. The collector smirks more than you can borrow. Wyatt says try a number. Make it humiliating. The man names a number. It is huge for an arcade, but tiny for Wyatt. Mere rounding error for his system. The counterbalance system pulses. Covers Sierra Lane's personal liability. The collector sees Wyatt check his phone and laughs. He asks if Wyatt is calling his mom. No, Wyatt says checking if you're worth a swipe. Sierra whispers for Wyatt to stop. This is not a game, but he already knows. He steps to the counter, tapping the black card against the payment terminal. Before the collector can finish laughing, the payment screen says approved. Talk about a jaw-dropping moment. The three collectors freeze, staring in complete disbelief. The older man stares at the terminal like it just performed surgery. Sierra looks from the screen to Wyatt. Her devotion score leaps from 61 to 76. The first collector recovers first, grumbling that this only covers the paper. He says it does not cover the trouble, tapping his crowbar against the prize machine. That was his mistake. Money solved the debt. His action created a new problem. Wyatt steps between him and the machine. Break it, and he will buy the arcade. He will buy it under Sierra's name, then charge them rent just for standing there. The debt collector points right at Mo, asking if paying makes him tough. No, Mo replies. Gavin tried that yesterday, and it laid him out cold. Sierra's eyes flicked to him. She had heard the rumors. Now she is close enough to see the actual truth. The lead thug swings his crowbar toward the prize machine. Mo catches his wrist right before metal smashes glass. That crazy strength from the diner is still there. Warmer now and so easy to find. The thug's arm shakes, his smile cracking. Let go, the guy gasps. Mo just squeezes. The crowbar clatters onto the sticky carpet with a pathetic thud. He effortlessly scoops it up with his free hand, placing it gently on the counter. Even your weapon understands customer, he tells them. Service. Sierra lets out a sound that is half laugh, half sob. The third thug charges Mo from the side, caught late in his peripheral vision. The old Mo would have taken the hit and paid the dental bill, but watch this, his new body shifts. He drives his shoulder hard into the guy's chest, sending him crashing backward through a rack of stuffed toys. Plushies rain down on the struggling thug while he tries to breathe. The arcade chimes in with perfect timing. A jackpot machine suddenly starts up. Cheering, Sierra lets out a genuine laugh. Then the system pulses. Sierra Lane. Devotion score jumps from 76 to 88. The second thug looks at the counter, his friend buried under plush toys, and then the door. That is a smart survival plan. He chooses escape. The first thug grabs his wrist and backs off, warning this is not over. It is, Mo replies. You just want a sequel. They escape. Without the arcade machines, the signature, or any of their cheap suit confidence they brought in, the older man behind the counter sinks onto stool. Sierra does not run to him first. She heads straight to Mo for a moment. She looks like she wants to say something sharp, hiding behind her pride to avoid gratitude. Then she looks at the terminal, then at the pile of plush toys, then at Mo's steady hand. You paid it, she says. It had your name on it. You actually fought him. He had a weapon, and you joked while he held crowbar. Mo quips that he did not want the guy feeling underdressed. Sierra tries to smile. Her mouth trembles instead. For once, Sierra lets her vulnerability show completely. The counterbalance system flashes. Sierra's devotion score surges to 95, a devotion lock triggers, unleashing a counterattack rebate and bonus attributes. New skills are online. The arcade lights blur for a split second. Money bought him attention, but devotion lock buys serious danger. The system surges new strength into Mo's legs, razor-sharp balance, and a single flood of professional court awareness into his mind, as if he had been watching games for years instead of avoiding gym class. Sierra wipes her tear-stained cheek with the heel of her hand before any tears can show. Do not look proud, she warns. Of saving you, Mo asks. No, of being right. Well, he is proud of both. She punches his arm playfully, then hugs him tight enough to make him gasp. He does not hug her like some dramatic hero, nor does he make a speech. He gently rests a hand behind her head, letting her tremble for a few silent breaths. Then his phone buzzes because peace has awful timing. A campus notification flashes a video clip from outside the arcade, already spreading. Someone filming through a laundromat window has captured the thugs retreating while Mo stands defiantly in the doorway, protecting Sierra behind him. The caption mocks him as a midnight whale trying to play bodyguard. Below it, Pice Pierce had commented from his verified account, calling Wyatt a wallet with legs. Put him on a court and he folds, Sierra read aloud over his shoulder. Pierce is an idiot, she remarked, a very useful, loud, and pretty idiot. He was allergic to losing, but just then, another notification popped up. Pierce announced a charity game tonight, telling the whale to prove he could actually move. The system immediately flagged the post as a competence pressure threat. Sierra looked at him, telling him he better not actually go there. Wyatt stared at his glowing attribute screen right behind the notification. Talk about walking straight into a trap, but Wyatt wasn't backing down now. Rich students absolutely loved charity, especially when they could judge poor people. Pierce stood at center court wearing a clean jacket and a smug grin. He smiled as if he had already edited the highlight reel of Wyatt losing. Pierce was taller, stronger, and far better trained than the old Wyatt. His confidence came from expensive coaching and never worrying about his next meal. Even the referee beside him was constantly laughing at all of Pierce's jokes. That bias told him everything, while Celeste sat near the front, arms crossed. She had not asked him to play, sending only one text beforehand. The message warned him not to let Pierce turn this rescue into comedy. Sierra stood nearby, still pale from the arcade but looking absolutely furious. 2 rows behind them sat Vanessa, uninvited, watching as Pierce finally spotted him. He raised his hands and shouted to the crowd that the guest had arrived. Pierce joked about checking if the court accepted black cards, drawing loud laughter. Walking onto the hardwood, Wyatt asked if the scoreboard registered pure humiliation. Pierce's smile sharpened as he walked closer, lowering his voice just a bit. He wanted the front row to hear every single word of his threat. Pierce asked if he knew why basketball was chosen over chess. Because chess requires actual reading, Pierce smirked, drawing gasps from the crowd. He sneered that on this court, nobody cared about buying girls breakfast. Here you run, jump, and get exposed, he pointed at Celeste and Sierra. Pierce raised his voice, mocking Wyatt's little fan club in the stands. Sierra threw her hands up, shouting that she literally watched Wyatt toss a giant. She described him throwing a man through plush toys, changing the crowd's mood. Celeste spoke calmly, telling Pierce that his fragile confidence was showing. That clean insult cut deep, making Pierce glare at Celeste in surprise. He clearly expected her to remain silent, but then spotted Vanessa behind her. Pierce sneered that even his ex showed up to watch him fail. Vanessa did not smile, speaking clearly enough for nearby phones to record. She remarked that the old Wyatt would never have even shown up. Before the game even started, Pierce's attempts to use them completely backfired. The referee tossed Wyatt a jersey and leaned in for a whisper. He told Wyatt to avoid playing hero, since this was Pierce's event. He was instructed to throw the game so everyone could go home happy. Wyatt called him out instantly, causing the corrupt referee's face to tighten. Turning to the crowd, Wyatt announced that the referee wanted him to miss on purpose. He asked if that counted as charity, sending a wave of laughter through the arena. His eyes went flat. Good, villains are easiest to beat after they double down. In public, the game starts with Pierce stealing the first pass and dunking hard. Enough to make the crowd roar. He points right at him while hanging from the rim. Still time to sponsor the bench, Pierce sneers. The scoreboard flashed Pierce's. Team up with his side at 0. The referee swallows his whistle on the next foul. Pierce shoves him with one shoulder, making the crowd laugh when he stumbles. The old him would have heard Vanessa's voice in that laugh. The new him, he hears a rhythm. His skill module does not make him a professional, it just makes every bad angle. Obvious, Pierce leans way too much on pride. The referee watches his hands and ignores Pierce's elbows. The crowd expects him to buy his way out, so he does. The one thing they never priced, he plays. Pierce drives left, but he steps in early and steals the ball clean before Pierce can even finish smirking. The arena sound breaks. He crosses half court, hearing the referee's whistle start before he even invents a reason and jumps. For one suspended second, he sees the rim like a payment terminal, then he dunks. Talk about a statement, Sierra screams first. A full, ugly, victorious noise that makes Celeste look at her and almost smile. Pierce grabs the ball, muttering about luck. Our guy says he tried, then steals the ball again, passing it behind his back to a player on his side, who had not expected to matter. He scores because Pierce pulls 2 defenders toward him. The scoreboard moves, the crowd changes. The real humiliation comes after the dunk and steal. Now the crowd expects him to do something epic, and Pierce feels this event slipping out of his hands. He shoves harder on the next play. The referee calls a fake foul on him. Pierce smiles, telling him he's just a wallet with legs. Our guy walks to the ref, holding hands out. Call it again, he demands. The referee says back up. No, call the next fake one. Louder, he says, wanting the phones to catch that confidence. The student section makes a low sound as phones lift. The referee's whistle stays frozen. Move, Pierce senses the danger first. Play ball now, you like rules, he asks. Pierce charges at him and he lets him. At the last second, he moves sideways. Pierce overruns. The lane collides with his teammate and drops to one knee as the ball rolls. Loose, our guy picks it up. No rush, no panic. He dribbles twice, waiting for Pierce to stand, then shoots from the three-point line. The ball drops. Clean, the scoreboard flashes as the crowd roars for him. Pierce's face turns red. Celeste stands up. Sierra jumps like the floor owes her money. Vanessa covers her mouth, but her eyes are not on Pierce. They watch the man she used to make wait outside classrooms with coffee. Pierce calls a timeout he does not even need, just to stop the bleeding. He walks past him and mutters about buying someone to train him. No, our guy says. You trained for years and still priced him wrong. Pierce hears it, and so does the camera nearby. After that, things get ugly. The referee tries 2 more cheap calls, but the crowd boos him instantly. Pierce tries to isolate him, then double teams him, then resorts to heavy fouls. Each new trick only makes the last look pathetic. By the final minute, the scoreboard needs no mercy. His side leads by 18. Pierce has stopped smiling. He has not started either. With 10 seconds left, Pierce charges no play, no pass, just pure ego with shoes. He lowers his shoulder. Our guy steals the ball, spinning. Wyatt blew past him, leaving him grabbing thin air, then stopped at the free throw line. The crowd expected another devastating dunk, and Pierce expected it too, turning under the basket, ready to contest a highlight. Instead, Wyatt just shot from exactly where he stood. The ball arched over him, clean and quiet. Buzzer, scoreboard, win. For a second, Pierce Hold stood frozen under the basket, while the arena cheered. The very man he wanted to humiliate. That was the payoff, and then came consequences. The referee walked toward Pierce, but not to comfort him. He pulled off his whistle and left it on the scorer table because the crowd was just too loud. To keep pretending he was neutral, Pierce stared at it, looking completely stripped of his pride. Like his title was taken without warning, Sierra was the first to reach Wyatt. She shouted over to Pierce, mockingly asking if he was just a wallet with legs. It seemed his wallet came with broken ankles and total public shame. Celeste stopped beside her, warning her not to over-explain the victory. Sierra pointed back. She was just seasoning it, she claimed. Meanwhile, Wyatt grabbed a towel and faced Pierce. Wyatt told him it was a very charitable event, since he donated his reputation. Someone in the student section repeated the burn, and Pierce heard his crowd laugh. They laughed before he could even leave, and the clip went live instantly. First the dunk, then the fake foul, then Pierce frozen under the falling shot. For an hour, the campus loved Wyatt. Then Pierce acted like any sore loser would. He changed the battlefield. Watch how dirty this next move gets around midnight. It ignored the game's scoreboard entirely. Instead, it showed Sierra hugging Wyatt, Celeste walking beside him outside the dorm, and Vanessa crying outside Pier 9 diner. The caption called him a midnight whale targeting girls after they break down. Pierce Hall reposted it immediately, and another familiar antagonist quickly joined the thread. Wheeze Dobbs, an old classmate with a big mouth and cheap instincts. He wrote that he knew Wyatt before the money, and this was his routine. He plays victim, buys sympathy, then collects girls. The comment section exploded. People love a winner until someone gives them a righteous excuse to hate. Sierra called Wyatt immediately, offering to completely bury Pierce with her screenshots. Wyatt told her no screenshots, wanting no investigations or long essays. He wanted to make Pierce stand in a room and lose what he loves. Celeste messaged next, warning him not to let Pierce turn women into evidence. He looked at the text, then at the viral smear. She was completely right. Answering with receipts would play their game, and honestly, he was done playing nice. If he forced real consequences on them first, they would struggle to survive it. Before Wyatt could choose his next move, his phone rang. It was Benji Ortiz. He had not heard from him all week, and Benji sounded utterly crushed. Benji begged Wyatt for help, his pride completely shattered. Behind him, a girl laughed. A man said something muffled, but the cruel tone was painfully clear. Benji swallowed hard, admitting he had caught his girlfriend cheating. She told him she was too broke to be angry, while Wyatt's screen glowed. Pierce and Wheeze wanted to label him a predator, but Benji just handed him a cleaner answer. Wyatt checked his system wallet and his rising power. The new attribute points hummed under his skin as the campus feed targeted him. Stay right there, Wyatt told him, as Benji asked what he was doing. Wyatt smiles for the first time since the viral attack hit, time to teach her a lesson. The line between being broke and being patient. Benji pings his location mid-laugh. On Wyatt's phone, the brutal campus slander keeps glowing. His enemy Pierce Halt went all out, twisting every girl in Wyatt's life into a cheap rumor, and Wheeze Dobbs showed up, crawling out of the past to validate the lies like he actually knows anything about him. But then his loyal buddy Benji Ortiz calls from a dark lot behind the copper room. Devastated, his girlfriend didn't just cheat on him, she did something far worse. She made him watch while some rich jerk leaned on a fancy ride and laughed. Too poor to even get angry, she sneers. Talk about a brutal blow. Hearing that insult makes Wyatt's decision instant. Benji was one of the few real ones left. He never treated Wyatt's past struggles like a disease. They split cheap instant food together, lied to landlords to protect him, and walked miles in downpours when Wyatt was broke. All to save bus fare for Vanessa's birthday. His enemies claim Wyatt exploits broken people. Fine, he will answer them by saving the one loyal brother who never turned his back. Don't leave, Wyatt commands. On the other end, Benji gasps out, Wyatt, she's filming this. Perfect, Wyatt says, tell her to hold it steady. He cannot spend system-restricted cash. But his personal balance is completely unrestricted. The rules are strict, but he has ways. His loyalty points have unlocked plenty of personal funds, and right now, personal money doesn't care about rules. It's time to call Vantage Row Imports. The manager answers instantly. When you're this rich, business hours don't exist anymore. Wyatt tells him, I need 6 Ferraris right now, with clean keys. And get me drivers who know how to keep their mouths shut. There's a tense pause. The manager stammers that 20 minutes is too short. Wyatt tells him to make it expensive. Money talks and the guy gets the message. Wyatt pulls up to the dark lot. Benji is standing by the dumpsters, his fists squeezed tight in absolute rage. His cheating girl is smirking under the streetlights with some rich guy in a tight blazer. The blazer-clad guy stands there, his foot casually resting on a flashy red tire, acting like he owns the entire city, but Wyatt knows a fake flex when he sees one. He's had to deal with enough arrogant snobs to recognize cheap theater. Benji looks over and tries to hide his shame. Seeing his proud friend embarrassed hurts the most. This is your backup, the girl scoffs, eyeing Wyatt's casual clothes with disgust. You brought another broke loser. The tight blazer guy starts laughing mockingly. Truly tragic, Wyatt stares coldly at their sports car. Is that a rental? The guy sneers, asking if he's jealous, just wondering why you chose the cheapest model. The girl flinches. She wants to laugh but is still busy scanning Wyatt's expensive shoes. Trying to judge his net worth, Benji mutters, Wyatt, forget it. Wyatt turns to him, do you still want her? The girl rolls her arrogant eyes. Benji swallows hard and says no. Instantly, the girlfriend's smirk completely vanishes. That's the real victory, not the cars, but Benji rejecting her before she can spit poison. Wyatt nods in approval, good, because you should never recycle garbage. What did you say? She screeches, but before anyone can speak, a roar echoes. A low, gleaming red Ferrari drifts into the parking lot, slicing through the night. Followed by a white one, 2 black ones, and then 2 more luxury beasts. Drivers in clean black suits step out, carrying temporary dealership plates. The entire crowd goes dead silent. The cheating girlfriend's jaw hits the floor. The blazer guy quickly jerks his foot off his rental's tire like it just got infected. The Vantage Row manager steps out of the lead car and walks straight past the blazer guy to Locke. Mr. Locke, he says, holding out an envelope of keys. We brought the available lineup. The other 2 are being detailed. The girlfriend looks from the manager to Locke, then to Benji, then back to the cars. The human brain is funny. It can ignore loyalty for years, but one expensive engine teaches it religion in 3 seconds. Benji, Locke says, pick one. Benji stares at Locke. Are you insane? He asks, not for free. The manager opens the nearest door. Benji does not move, but the girlfriend steps forward. Wait, she says, that word has a bitter taste. It is the same word Vanessa tried to use. Outside Astor and Birch, the same shape, the same panic. Wait meant the poor version was useful again now that the rich version had arrived. Benji heard it too. He looks at her for one long second, then takes the key from the manager. I like the black one, he says. The girl steps toward him. Benji, I did not mean it like that, she pleads. You said I was too broke to be angry. I was upset you were entertained. That line did more damage than the cars. The blazer guy tries to recover. Anyone can stage a few rentals. The manager turns to him. with the cold patience of a man protecting a sale larger than his pride. Sir, please do not touch our client's vehicles. Your client, the girlfriend. Whispers. Locke points right at Benji. For tonight Benji's shoulders lift. Not swagger, something cleaner. He stands like a person whose shame has been returned to the sender. The girlfriend stares at him like she has missed a sale. Benji, she says softly, trying the voice people use when they realize. Witnesses have upgraded. You did not tell me your friend was like this. Benji looks at her. You did not ask about my friends. I was angry. You were posing. The blazer guy steps closer, still trying to rescue his rented evening. This is pathetic, he sneers. He needs another man's cars to feel big. Locke looks at Benji. Does he know who paid for his rental? Benji blinks. What the? Girlfriend's face tightens. There it is, a tiny pressure point with makeup. On it, the blazer guy turns. What did you say? She does not answer fast. Enough. Benji sees it. He laughs once, but it has no humor in it. You pay for his car. It was complicated, she says. No, Benji says, it just got simple. The second useful payoff lands next. The cheating was not romance. It was financing with perfume. The blazer guy points at Locke. You do not know anything? Locke replies. I know you leaned on a car your date paid for while calling her boyfriend broke. That is not a villain, he says. That is budget theater. The people near the copper room entrance laugh louder this time. The blazer guy looks at the rental like it has betrayed him. His girlfriend reaches for his sleeve. He steps back. Don't, he says. She tries anyway, begging Benji, please. We can talk. We did talk, he says. You laughed. People gather near the copper room entrance now. Phones come up. The girlfriend notices the cameras and tries to soften her voice, saying she made a mistake. Locke looks at Benji. A mistake is sending the wrong emoji. This was a whole evening. Someone near the entrance laughs. The girlfriend's eyes fill, but not with love, with math. Benji sees it and finally smiles. Thanks for showing me, he says to her, and then gets. Benji climbs into the black Ferrari, the sudden engine roar making his ex flinch as if she was slapped. Our protagonist leans down toward the open window, telling him to drive around once slowly, letting the lesson sink in. Benji laughs with a broken bright chuckle, then pulls out behind the lead car as the convoy rolls. Crawling through the lot, his ex follows 3 steps, then stops. Because every phone in the area is recording the exact scene she deserves. The man she called to drives away, while the man she cheated with stands by his rented car, silent. When Benji loops back, she tries one more desperate angle, wiping her eye as she turns to the phones, crying that she is scared. Benji grips the steering wheel tight. She just found his weakest spot. Ruin him if left alone. Cheaters always learn to play the victim fast. But our protagonist steps up to the window, speaking loud enough for the nearest cameras, declaring that Benji never touched or threatened her, only asking one question, which she answered with a lie, so now he is leaving with dignity. She glares at him, snapping that it is none of his business, but he reminds her she made it public. Benji looks through the windshield, stating he is only embarrassed he ever defended her, hitting far harder than anger. Her fake crying stops. She whispers his name, but Benji just shakes his head, telling her to keep the guy and lose his number. Then, the manager lines in, asking if they should keep the passenger authorization open. Our protagonist looks at delete it, Benji orders. The manager nods once. Simple administrative finish. Action, ending the relationship cleaner than months of begging ever could have done. Seeing Benji stand tall answers Pierce's smear better than any online defense. No screenshots needed, just a loyal friend standing tall because our MC spent power on someone else. But the problem is, revenge never stays in one place. The copper room upstairs is hosting their old class reunion. Our MC forgot it on purpose, but Weez Dobbs did not. As the convoy loops back, whispers spread. Word is that Weez has been inside telling everyone he knows the dirty truth about him. Benji parks and gets out, clutching his keys, gently telling our protagonist that he does not have to come inside, but he must, because guys like Weez think a lie becomes reality if repeated near catered food. The reunion room looks exactly like he remembers it. Warm lights, cheap name tags, and old classmates pretending they have changed for the better just because their shoes are cleaner. He has no name tag, which actually helps, but recognition still travels like ugly sparks. Weez has already prepared the room. A massive projector near the bar is showing the frozen campus feed, displaying Pierce's nasty smear post. It is not framed as news, just sitting there like a dirty plate nobody wants to claim. Weez notices Him looking and smiles, claiming he was only explaining some context to people. Naturally, people always ask questions when someone displays a giant screen. The room shifts, classmates looking at the projector and realizing gossip now has hardware. Weez lifts both hands, telling them to relax because he is just protecting. Everyone remembering who our MC was before the mystery money. Benji steps forward, announcing how our protagonist once paid his rent when he had nothing. Benji admitted he had lived on instant noodles for a week, claiming it was just a diet. He claimed it was a diet and the room grew quiet. Locke did not like this. Benji saying that exposed an old, clean scent of poverty, but the words did something useful. It bent the old loser narrative. Being poor did not make him a predator. It meant the guy Weez mocked still helped someone when there were no cameras around. And no reward, Weez felt the crowd shift and hated it, mockingly calling it touching. He sneered that Locke bought him a personality. Benji just gave a smaller, better smile. Better than renting one, Benji replied. That got a real laugh at Weez's expense. Weez Dobb stood by the center table, holding a drink with a crowd gathered around. Same grin, better haircut, worse soul. He spotted Locke and raised his glass in greeting. There he is, Weez mocked, calling Locke the Midnight Whale or whatever his act was. Benji stepped up beside Locke. Weez glanced at him, then toward the windows outside. The Ferraris shone down below. Nice rentals, Weez sneered, asking if they split the cost. The room laughed, finding it much easier to mock than to show any real courage. Locke looked around, recognizing old faces who had watched him carry textbooks for Vanessa. There were people who let Weez call Locke a charity case without doing a thing. Not a single person had tried to stop him. Then Locke spotted Ella Durant. She stood by the wall in the shadows, looking like she came from another world. Simple black dress, hair pinned back, and a canvas charm on her bag. The charm struck an old chord in Locke's chest before he could even name it. Ella noticed his gaze and looked down for a brief second, showing no disgust. Locke looked away before memories took over. This night was not ready for ghosts yet. But Weez kept talking, bragging to everyone on his live stream about what was happening. He claimed Locke always found people at their lowest, acting useful just to play savior. He pointed his drink right at Benji as proof, and Benji instantly went stiff. That was a mistake. Locke could take insults himself. He had tolerated them for years. But Weez using Benji's fresh humiliation as a joke made Locke lose his patience. Locke finally spoke up, asking Weez how many times he had used his name tonight. Weez sneered that it was enough, his smile twitching as he asked if it worked. He asked if the old loser story made Locke feel taller, silencing the entire room. Weez warned him, but Locke sharply countered that he was poor, not blind. That landed. Issa looked up as Weez set his drink down, challenging Locke to compare success. Locke refused, stating Weez had already brought his success by talking about it all night. A few people snickered, making Weez turn bright red as he gestured to the cars outside. He barked they were not Locke's, just as the showroom manager walked into the room. Perfect timing is expensive, and Locke had paid for it. The manager held a black envelope. He looked only at Locke, announcing they had moved the lead Ferrari to the front entrance. He added that the transfer paperwork for the two vehicles under Locke's personal account was ready for signature. Weez blinked. The atmosphere shifted so fast that Locke almost felt bad for the crowd. Almost, Locke took the envelope without opening it, then stopped the manager with one question. He asked if he knew Weez Dobb. Weez's face tightened instantly. The manager offered Weez a polite smile, recalling his visit to the showroom last month. Weez jumped on that, boasting to everyone about his contacts, but the manager continued. Weez had only asked to take photos next to the inventory, and they declined. The room made a sound that was not a gasp. It was better, a group of people. Swallowing the fake version of Weez they had just bought, Benji laughed first, then. Someone near the bar muttered that it was brutal. Weez pointed at the manager. You cannot say that, Weez snapped. The manager looked at Wyatt, who looked at Weez. Relax, Wyatt said. It is not an investigation, just consequence with shoes. Weez turned toward the projector like he could erase the smear by touching a button, muttering that Benji got there first. He grabbed the remote from the bar and shut the screen off. The campus feed post vanished from the wall. No speech. No defense, just one click, and the lie lost its biggest surface. Benji set the remote down, telling Weez not to use his bad night to decorate his worst one. Benji's voice took the room in a way the Ferrari could not. The car had made people look, but his words made them choose. Two classmates stepped away from Weez. Not far, but far enough. Weez tried to recover by turning to Isla. He asked if she remembered Wyatt, who used to follow girls like a lost dog. Isla's face went still. Her hand moved to the little charm on her bag. She said she remembered enough, leaving Wheeze expecting support but getting a locked door. His drink hand lowered. The counterbalance system did not flash. This was not a target conversion. This was something older and more dangerous than a simple number. The reunion shifted right after that. People who laughed at the rentals now wanted to ask about cars. People who had nodded along with Wheeze now acted like they had always found him annoying. A woman from their old class told Benji his ex was downstairs crying near the valet stand, and Benji just looked at the Ferrari key in his hand. Good, he said. He was not healed yet. But he was no longer kneeling. One night had earned enough. Wyatt should have left after the payoff. Instead, Isla walked past him toward the hallway, close enough that her shoulder almost brushed his. She did not stop or make a scene. She only whispered under her breath for him to check his phone in 5 minutes. Then her phone rang. She looked at the screen and whatever color the reunion had given her vanished. She quietly said, "Yes, Dad." Her voice became careful in a way Wyatt hated immediately. She left through the side door. Wheeze was still bleeding status behind him. Benji was still holding borrowed keys like a new spine. The room was still digesting the fact that the poor boy from old stories had brought a dealership through the door. Then Wyatt's phone lit up. Unknown number. One message. Wyatt, this is Isla Durant. Her father did not bring her to dinner. He brought her to be sold. The next message arrived before Wyatt breathed. Private dining room downstairs. Gray. Wyatt looked toward the stairwell. The reunion noise faded behind him. Benji saw Wyatt's face change, asking what happened. Wyatt put the envelope in his hand. He told Benji his revenge was parked outside. Wyatt's was just downstairs. Isla Durant's message turned the copper room from a reunion into a countdown. Private dining room downstairs. Preston Gray. Wyatt read it twice while the party kept laughing behind him, as if the building had not just split into two worlds. Upstairs, Wheeze Dobbs was losing face beside a tray of tiny desserts. Downstairs, Isla's father was trying to sell his daughter with linen napkins and a contract. Benji looked at the phone, then at Wyatt, asking if she was in danger. If so, why are they just standing there? Good question. He takes the stairs two at a time. The hallway below is quieter, carpeted thick enough to hide heavy footsteps. Two private dining rooms sit behind dark wood doors. One has servers moving in and out, while the other has security posted outside, with folded hands and the bored face of someone paid to make coercion look like hospitality. The guard blocks the door and tells him it is a private room. That is the problem. The guard puts a hand out, demanding an invitation. He stares at the man's wrist, warning him to move before things get violent. The guard does not know him, making the mistake of reaching for his chest. Those attribute points from Sierra's lock did not make him patient. He grabs the wrist, twisting it just enough to fold his pride, and rams him sideways into the wall. Without breaking anything expensive, the guard grunts, shaking the door. Inside, a man's voice snaps, demanding to know what is happening. He throws the door open before the guard can even decide if dying is worth his paycheck. The room freezes. Around a long table, Issa sits near the center, white-knuckled with one cheek faintly red. Her father stands behind her chair, holding it like she is property he owns. Preston Gray sits across from her in a pale suit, looking satisfied. He smiles like a buyer inspecting a house. Preston's older father sits beside him, cold and watchful, displaying the calm disgust of a man used to getting signatures exactly on time. On the table sits a thick contract that needs no explanation. The title is evil enough. It is a marriage agreement with voting control and family debt release. Issa's pen lies beside it, looking like the true villain. In the room, beside the contract, sits a dessert plate that nobody has touched. That detail makes him angrier than the slap mark on her cheek. They had ordered something sweet for the moment she signs herself away. Preston notices him. He says they were celebrating early. Issa's father tries to laugh, sounding thin. He says Mr. Gray has been generous and that Issa understands the family needs this cooperation. Preston leans back in his seat, looking smug like. The word cooperation is like a hand around her throat. She gets stability, he says, while her father keeps the company alive, so everyone keeps their dignity. Issa's fingers curl in her lap. No one at the table asks whether dignity can actually be forced through a signature. Preston's father finally speaks. His voice has no volume problems because the room is trained to meet him halfway, calling him a young man interrupting a settlement, but he corrects Them saying he is interrupting a sale. His eyes sharpen. Monsters hate accuracy. He walks straight to the table. Issa stares at him like she has hoped and feared the same answer. Her father finds his voice first, demanding to know his identity. He simply calls himself the interruption. Preston laughs. He picks up the contract. Issa's father lunges, warning him not to touch it. He looks at Issa, asking if she agreed. Her lips part, but her father snaps that she understands her duty. He keeps his eyes on Issa, repeating that was not his question. Preston's smile thins as he insists she will sign, but he ignores him. Issa swallows. Her voice comes out low but clear enough for everyone who matters. She says no. That one word cuts the contract before his hands do. He tears it in half. The sound is not loud, but the room reacts like a chair just went through a window. Preston stands up so fast his chair scrapes back, demanding to know what that contract is worth. He rips it again, less now, he replies, as Preston steps forward. He steps between them, blocking Preston as he makes his first mistake. Preston jabs a finger into his chest, demanding she be included, so he hits him. No wild punch, no heroic speech, just one sharp body blow. Folding the man forward, he follows with a palm strike that sends him crashing down. He drops beside his chair, and the room falls dead silent. Preston's father stands up, declaring he just assaulted a gray, but he calmly denies it. He corrected a touching problem, ordering Isla to sit. One glare at his hand makes the man quickly pull back. Preston groans from the floor, bitterly asking if he thinks he can buy his way in. But he replies that they are indeed the ones buying badly. Preston's father smiles coldly, saying he understands nothing since her company is drowning. They clear the debt, gain control, and she receives protection, but Isla flinches. She flinches at protection, and he hates how cleanly these monsters speak. The counterbalance system pulses in his vision, recognizing Isla Durant as a target. Devotion score 41, her freedom route is open. Company control and debt release. The system knows exactly where the cage is. For half a second, his greedy side stares at the insane numbers behind this open route. He almost smiles. The counterbalance wallet absolutely loves a woman in crisis. It loves power tied to humiliation and expensive decisions that multiply later. But then Isla looks at him with a deep, silent fear that he absolutely cannot ignore. Not fear of failure, but fear that he will buy the same cage himself. He places his phone right on the table for everyone to see the screen very clearly. He announces he will clear the control point, making her father sigh in relief. But he glares directly at the older man, stating this rescue is definitely not for him. He taps the approval screen, refusing to let the room drown in paperwork. Tedious calls happen fast because rich families only pretend. A company officer and a debt holder both pick up immediately. The counterbalance wallet moves through the route swiftly. Preston's father watches the first approval land and instantly changes tactics. Demanding a stop, he offers to privately double whatever he is offering. Isla's father panics, reminding him they already had a binding agreement in place. Preston's father callously snaps that they had a useful daughter on the table. Now they have a chaotic scene, and those brutal words make Isla flinch. That sentence strips away the last polite illusion from this negotiation. Her father cannot pretend this is protection any longer. Everyone in the room has heard the price tag speak, and he looks at Isla's father, asking if he still wants to call this a family, while the father stares down. The father avoids his daughter's gaze, while Preston pushes himself up. He spits from the floor, telling him to take the money, calling him a campus clown. Claiming he has no idea how to run an actual company, which he admits. He reveals that is exactly why he has no intention of keeping the company at all. The room goes silent as Isla's eyes lift in total disbelief. The screen confirms the transfer of majority voting control straight to Isla Durant. He turned the screen toward Isla, telling her to stand up. She did, her father whispered. Isla, that whisper had controlled her for years. He saw it hit her shoulders, then. She read her own name above the control line, and his whisper instantly lost its weight. Preston's father stepped forward, calling it impossible. No, he countered, it is just expensive. Preston pushed himself up from the floor, his face completely twisted. You bought her, he spat. Isla looked at him before anyone else. There lay the real test. He picked up the phone and placed it in Isla's hand. No, he said, he bought the cage and handed her the key. No cheers, no grand speech, just something far better. The crowd gathered to watch Isla be transferred, suddenly saw authority move directly to Her father took a step toward her, claiming she did not understand the company. Isla gripped the phone tighter, saying he should have taught her before. Trying to sell her, that line did more than his money. Her father raised his hand, an old habit and a fast mistake. He caught the wrist before Isla even moved. The room stopped breathing. He did not squeeze. He did not need to, simply holding his hand in the air where everyone could see exactly what kind of father appeared. When ownership failed, try it, he challenged, and keep Preston company on the floor. His arm trembled. Isla looked at his hand first, then his face, something truly final moved behind her eyes. Remove him from operating authority, she commanded. The company officer was still on his phone and heard her. Miss Durant, the representative on the line said carefully, as majority voting holder, you can call an emergency action. Her father whispered she would not. Isla's voice shook once and then steadied. I am calling it, she declared. The company officer went quiet for 2 seconds, then he said action was recorded. Isla's father's phone buzzed. On the table, he looked down. Whatever message he saw drained the last fatherly performance right out of his face. Isla read that too. You can keep your office until morning. She added that after that, he could ask the front desk where visitors wait. Her father stared at her as if she had learned a foreign language. She had authority. Preston laughed from the floor, bitter and breathless. Look at her. 10 minutes with him and she thinks she is queen. Isla did not look at him. Not looking at him was the insult. No, she said, 10 minutes without you and I can hear myself. The company officer cleared his throat on the phone. Miss Durant, do you want the Gray family removed from pending control discussions? Preston's father stiffened up. Isla looked at him once, not asking permission, just confirming she was allowed to be ruthless in the room. That had been ruthless to her. He nodded. She said, remove them. The officer answered, done. Preston's father's jaw tightened so hard the word done looked like it had cost him money. He released his wrist. He stepped back as if he had thrown him. The third cage opened there. First the contract, then the control. Then the voice she used against the man who had raised her to obey. Preston's father looked at him with open contempt now, as if the failed seller had embarrassed the buyer. You promised control, Preston's father growled. Isla's father paid. Preston pointed at him. This is theft, call it whatever makes the floor feel softer, he said. Preston lunged. He expected it. Men like him did not lose women, contracts, and absolute audience control without needing one. Last ugly move. He lunged at his face. He stepped aside, letting his momentum carry. He slams Preston into the table edge, rattling glasses as water spills across the torn contract. Preston collapses again with absolutely no dignity left, and Issa does not scream. That actually matters. She just watches him go down, offering no apology. The counterbalance system pulses. Issa Durant, devotion score 41-68. Not lock, not yet. Good. He did not want the system making this too easy. If she trusted him only because money arrived with his name on it, he would be pressed for timing. Then Issa reaches for the little canvas charm on her bag, holding it between her fingers. She asks him if he remembers this. The room remains hostile, but her voice instantly takes him somewhere else. Hi. School rain, a narrow walkway behind the gym, and Issa with a torn backpack strap. 3 older boys blocking her path, because cruelty always gets brave in groups. He was too poor to look useful, too scared to look heroic, but dumb enough to step in. They hit him twice before a teacher's whistle cut through the rain. He told Issa to run, and she did. The next day, a little canvas charm appeared in his locker with no note. He never found out how she knew which locker was his. He kept that memory buried because poor boys cannot afford to mistake gratitude for love. Issa's eyes shine as she says she knew it was him. She was not sure until tonight. The system answers before his mouth can. Issa Durant, devotion score 68-95. Devotion lock triggered. Counterattack. Rebate is unlocked. The private dining room blurs at the edges, not from romance, but from the ugly relief of realizing one good thing he did, while powerless, had survived long enough to meet him after he became dangerous. Preston's father sees Issa step closer to him and knows the deal is dead for good. Lawyer could resurrect. He tells Preston they are leaving. Preston wipes his mouth, arguing they cannot let him. You lost the bride, his father says. You lost the contract. Do not lose your teeth. That was the first sensible gray sentence of the night. Preston glares at Issa, saying she will regret this. She lifts her phone. She tells him she holds voting control now, demanding threats go her office. He almost laughs. Preston stares at her as if he is seeing the woman he planned to marry for the very first time. The ugly joke is that he Wanted her signature, her company, her total silence, and her body at a family table, but the moment she gains real power, he looks deeply offended by that discovery. There she stands, not as rescued property or fragile first love, but a woman backed into a corner who chose a blade the moment someone put one in her hand. Preston's father turns at the door, threatening that Bayfront Hall will hear about this. Good, he answers, telling him to use his correct name. He looks at him with the only honest emotion he showed all night, pure hate. Then he leaves with his son limping right beside him. Outside, the servers look away just a second too late. The security guard from the hallway stands there, clutching his injured wrist in pain, and suddenly finds the carpet incredibly fascinating. Issa's father is still in the room, but the room no longer belongs to him. Her father looks smaller than he did 10 minutes earlier, calling out her name softly. He pleads that they are family. She looks at the torn contract soaked on the table, asking if he only remembered that just now. He has no answer. That does not make things worse. Then he tries the final weapon. Weak parents. When authority crumbles, claiming her mother would be ashamed of her, Issa closes her eyes. For a second, her past training clawed at her throat, and he almost stepped in. She opened her eyes first. Do not borrow her voice, Isla snapped. You already spent mine. Her father looked hit. Good. Some men only understand pain this way, especially when that pain comes back wearing their own family name. The servers in the doorway pretended not to listen, meaning everyone would know by morning. That was fine, as payoffs always need witnesses. He guided Isla out. She still clutched her phone tightly. Benji waited near the stairs. Seeing her pale face, he skipped the stupid questions and asked if she was okay. Isla took a breath. She now owned the very thing they tried to sell. Benji looked over. That sounds like a yes with lawyers, he joked. No lawyers, he replied. They were supposed to be having a good night, but they definitely were not. Instead, it was loud, useful, and rapidly growing some very sharp teeth. Isla stopped by the mirror. She stared at her swollen cheek. He watched her, expecting tears, but she did not cry, simply brushing the mark away instead. She rubbed it with her thumb, erasing someone else's signature. I almost signed, she whispered, but she did not, solely because she had reached out. She looked at him through the mirror, saying his quick arrival mattered. If he made himself the hero, he would steal her hard-won victory. She had been completely cornered, but she still sent the message and bravely said no. Having taken that phone, she used it. Next time, Isla quietly promised. She would text earlier. Next time he agreed, she would not need permission. Leaving was always an option. By the time they reached the front entrance, the luxury convoy still sat under the lights, but Benji's ex was gone. Wes Dobbs was gone too, or at least hiding away well enough to count as gone. Her old classmates stared at Isla's phone like it was a wild beast. A former classmate whispered, asking if she was okay. Isla heard the whisper. She turned and answered first, stating no, but she was in charge now instead. He liked that answer. Simply being okay is passive, but being in charge has teeth. Isla stopped by the black Ferrari, asking why he had given it to her. He understood she meant the entire company, the control men had used to leash her. His reasons were not entirely pure. The system rewarded him for the spend. That inner greed of his was still alive and kicking, but it was not alone. He knew exactly what it felt like when someone claimed that simple ownership was love. And honestly, watching Preston lose was worth every single transaction fee. Isla laughed, a shaky but genuine sound. Even the system remained quiet. Just when they thought they were safe, her phone buzzed again, making her frown deeply. Bayfront Hall, she murmured. The charity board just requested an emergency guest list update. A second later, his own phone buzzed with an unexpected luxury invitation. It was for the midnight gala, requesting a high-rolling whale as their honored donor. There was no sender name, just a list of powerful elite signatures. He recognized the names of two highly feared corporate giants, Halden Capital and the Lark family. Isla looked from the strange invitation to him. This is definitely no thank you, she realized. It is a test with nicer lighting. Across the parking lot, a dark car sat idling at the curb. He could not see inside, but the tinted window slowly rolled down. He watched them rise again. Maybe rich people just loved watching fires, before deciding to warm their hands or call those flames illegal. Invitation pulsed on his screen. Bayfront Hall did not want to honor Wyatt, it wanted to see if the man who bought out those cages could be stopped at the door, the Bayfront. Invitation arrived like a silk-gloved threat. It did not say they heard he humiliated the Gray family. It did not explain why Halden Capital and the Lark Family office were copied into the chain. It simply called him an honored donor. Rich people love clean nouns because they can hide a knife in any of them. Celeste Monroe read the invitation on his phone the next afternoon, looking quite annoyed. She said Bayfront Hall does not invite chaos, it contains it, so Wyatt had to be punctual. Sierra Lane leaned over the back of the chair, suggesting he wear something insulting. Issa Durant, still clutching the company control phone like she expected someone to steal it, shook her head. No, let them insult him. First, she said it saves time. Wyatt's new problem was that the women around him started giving strategy like they were reviewing a murder board, and most was useful. Celeste set a small card on the table, a Riverside Estate gate card. The crystal piano delivery slot had been moved. Bayfront Hall asked to unveil it during the gala's music auction. They claimed it would honor Black Cat Lives campus program. She added they meant honor the same way people say mold. Wyatt looked at the card. The piano he bought for her had become bait. He asked if she wanted him to cancel it. Celeste's eyes lifted, giving a firm and cold refusal. If they wanted to use her piano as bait, she wanted to see who bites. The counterbalance system did not flash, but Wyatt's interest definitely did. That night he went to Bayfront Hall in a plain black coat, not because he could not dress better, but because if a door needed a suit to recognize money, it deserved embarrassment. The front steps were bright with cameras, wealthy donors, and polished couples, men who had inherited confidence from people they never thanked. Bayfront Hall rose behind them with white columns and glass doors so tall they looked designed to make normal people feel late. Celeste arrived beside him, calm enough to make every photographer search for the reason. Issa walked on his other side, quieter, still learning what freedom looked like under public light. Benji stayed near the curb with one Ferrari key in his pocket, and the expression of a man promoted from a mere witness to actual backup. At the velvet rope, a security captain looked at Celeste first, then eyed Wyatt coldly before holding out his hand, telling them the service entrance was around the side. Celeste froze. Wyatt smiled. The knight clearly liked him. He told him to say it louder. The captain frowned, repeating that staff used the side entrance. Pierce Hall laughed from just inside the rope. Of course he was there, different suit, same ego. His basketball loss had not killed him, only taught him to bleed in richer rooms. Pierce stepped closer, holding a champagne glass like an unearned trophy. You heard him, Wyatt. Pierce sneered. Bayfront Hall has standards, and they cannot put every campus wallet on the guest list. Wyatt looked at the rope between them, noting how Pierce still hid behind lines other men held. His smile tightened. Still pretending money makes him fit. The captain snapped for them to step aside. Phones turned toward them. Cameras love a rich entrance, but they absolutely live for a possible. Celeste spoke up before Locke could, sparing him from further humiliation. The security captain gave her a polite look that was actually a subtle insult, saying, "Ma'am, I know the guest list." "Then you read it poorly," she countered, making Pierce laugh again. Pierce warned Celeste not to waste her reputation. The jab was for her, but it hit Locke instead. He pulled out his phone and opened the Bayfront invitation, then closed it without showing him. The security captain blinked as Locke stopped him, saying, "You stopped me, so keep going. The apology needs contrast." Pierce's expression flickered, the first sign he actually remembered the court incident. The security captain reached for Locke's arm, but before those fingers touched his sleeve, the glass doors behind him flew open, and a Bayfront Hall host rushed out so fast his polished shoes almost slipped on the stairs. "Mr. Locke," he called out, catching his breath, "please forgive this confusion." The security captain's hand froze in midair as Pierce stopped smiling. The host turned to the rope attendant. He ordered them to open it, then just unlatched the barrier himself. "Bayfront Hall welcomes Midnight Whale," he announced loudly for the cameras, adding that your generosity tonight is deeply appreciated. Hearing this, the security captain's face turned completely pale. Locke just waited, and the host understood the pause and immediately demanded an apology. Talk about instant karma. The captain looked like he had to donate a kidney right there in public. "Mr. Locke," he muttered, "my apologies." "For what?" Locke asked. Pierce's eyes narrowed. "For directing you to the service entrance." "Good," Locke replied. "Now you know where it is if you need it." Later, a photographer coughed behind his camera as the host's smile twitched, pain making the moment sweeter. He tried to guide them inside quickly, but the damage had already entered the room before Locke did. Donors near the foyer turned to stare, some recognizing Celeste first, while others recognized the name Midnight Whale From those viral black cat clips, others just saw staff bowing to a man in a plain coat, immediately realizing there was real status hidden beneath that insult. That is the absolute best kind, the sort people have to discover while they are still being completely rude. Watching fake authority collapse in public is incredibly satisfying, sounding different. From loud defeat, this collapse is quiet, a man realizing that his uniform on his chest cannot protect him from a name he failed to recognize. The defeated security captain stepped back. Locke walked past him, then stopped right beside Pierce. "You should thank him," Locke said quietly. Pierce clutched his jaw. For what? He made the entrance seem far cheaper than the actual auction. Celeste looked away, but Locke saw the corner of her mouth twitch upward. Inside, Bayfront Hall smelled like pure money trying to pass as humble charity. There were white flowers, soft music, and glass cases showing off items, with cards that avoided mentioning how many families could eat for the price of a single bracelet. Locke spotted Sabrina Lark by the balcony, Felix standing right beside her. Both had the effortless posture of people with old family wealth thick enough to cushion any fall. Sabrina glanced at Locke, her expression neither warm nor hostile. Just calculating. Felix chatted with a donor, not even trying to hide that he was also keeping watch. Across the room, a Halden Capital table sat under a discreet sign. But Landon Halden was missing, his empty seat speaking volumes. Still, the host led them onto the main floor, handing Locke a black bidding paddle with a number printed on it. Then he subtly tried to seat them at a cheap side table, hidden right behind a column. Celeste spotted it first, firmly saying no. The host blinked, confused. "You announced him as an honored donor," Celeste snapped. "Don't hide him like an accounting error." Issa checked the table card and pointed toward the open front row. But the host insisted those seats were reserved. He checked the front row name cards anyway. 2 empty spots, one for Halden, one for the Larks. "Perfect," he murmured. He loved a reserved seat since it meant someone expected real value. The host's smile froze. Felix Lark saw them and leaned forward. He whispered a quiet word to Sabrina. The young man couldn't hear it, nor did he need to. Sabrina watched the host move their cards, and this time she smiled. It wasn't approval, just genuine interest. Beside them, the Lark family office seat remained empty. It felt like a challenge. Suddenly, Pierce appeared behind them, warning them to be very careful. "This crowd easily tells donating apart from buying applause, so you should stop." "Renting yours," he countered. Benji coughed, but Pierce ignored him and stared at Celeste. He asked if she was performing. Celeste's face cooled. "No shame," Pierce sneered. He insisted that a grand crystal piano like this deserved a trained hand. There was the bite. Before Celeste could reply, the host stepped up to begin the music auction segment. No tedious speeches, no boring lecture about materials, just a sudden reveal. A curtain pulled back, showcasing a pristine crystal piano under a bright, piercing white spotlight. It caught the reflection of every chandelier. Beside him, Celeste's breath hitched instantly. He heard it because he was listening. The host said it supported the arts, benefiting Bayfront Hall and Black Cat Live's music program. Then, the host made a mistake. He invited Pierce to play it. Pierce walked onto the stage like a star. He acted as if the night owed him a comeback. Before playing, he grabbed the microphone. For transparency, Pierce announced, looking directly at the young man, he would pledge. He would personally pledge $50,000 if the piano went to a true patron of the arts. The amount was perfect for polite applause, yet small enough to keep his family happy. The crowd clapped politely. Pierce bowed his head like a saint wearing a tailored suit. Without standing up, he calmly raised his paddle. The host stared in complete confusion. He called out, instructing them to add $500,000 under Celeste Monroe's name. The crowd gasped. Pierce's proud pledge had lasted for barely 11 seconds. Celeste turned toward him with sharp eyes, saying he did not need to do that. He smiled, claiming real patrons inspired him. Pierce's jaw tightened before. He sat down. Can he actually play? Turns out he's good, and that matters. Pierce possessed genuine talent, money, and a room completely trained to adore him. His hands glided cleanly over the keys, creating music beautiful enough to make people forget. People temporarily forgot his arrogant mouth. Celeste watched without blinking. When Pierce finished, the audience clapped. He stood, bowed, and grabbed the microphone. He declared a piano like this belonged only to those who understood discipline, rather than an amateur who believed every locked door could be opened with a card. The audience laughed carefully. Such laughter is the elite version of smelling blood. In the water, bidding opened, and Pierce raised his paddle first, followed by another donor. Then he lifted his paddle. The bid jumped and the host repeated it, voice cracking. Pierce glared directly at him, but he raised his paddle again before Pierce could respond. The crowd stopped pretending this was charity. Pierce tried one more desperate bid. His father wasn't there, but his strict family budget definitely was. He saw the hesitation. The moment Pierce hesitates to bid, Wyatt immediately raises his paddle. The host strikes. The gavel sold to Mr. Wyatt Locke for Black Cat Live's music. Program put it under Celeste Monroe's name, Wyatt says. The host swallows, of course. Celeste turns to him. The system pulses, updating Celeste Monroe's devotion. Score from 74 to 86. Pierce steps off the stage, face tight. You can buy it, you. Still cannot play it, he sneers, giving Wyatt a bitter look. Wyatt asks Celeste if he may. She understands instantly. If you ruin it, she warns him, she will be angry. And he will be careful. Wyatt walks onto the stage as the skill module wakes in his. Vision piano performance route is unlocked. The system does not make him emotional. It gives him no tragic childhood montage, no boring lecture about music theory. It simply places structure under his hands, perfect timing in his wrists, and a sharp sense of exactly where Pierce had left his pride on the keys. He sits. The room expects a joke, but he plays Pierce's opening piece. Same first phrase, same shape, but a cleaner attack. Then he changes it, not enough to become a different song, just enough to show everyone what Pierce had avoided, where he had played safe, where he had decorated a feeling instead of actually risking one. Celeste stands during the second passage. The audience realizes he is not mocking music, he is mocking Pierce through the music itself. His own piece becomes the floor. Under him, Wyatt plays the final line softer and slower than Pierce did, letting the last note hang until every expensive throat in the room remembers it had been silent. The applause does not start immediately. It has to climb out of shame. Then it hits hard. Benji shouts once before catching himself. Issa claps with both hands at her chest. Celeste does not clap. She looks at him. Like the piano answered a question she had refused to ever say out loud. The system flashes. Celeste Monroe devotion score 86 to 95. Devotion lock triggered. Counterattack rebate unlocked. Skill module strengthened. The host hurries back to the microphone, desperate to wrap up the moment in official language. Remarkable demonstration, he says, claiming Bayfront Hall is honored to steward this instrument, but Celeste says no. Every head turns as she walks on stage, with a calm that makes the interruption look like perfect etiquette. Instrument was purchased under her name for Black Cat Live's campus music program, she says. It will be used where students can hear it, not hidden in a donor hall until the next gala needs lighting. The host looks at Wyatt for rescue, but he gets none. Celeste holds out her hand, and Wyatt places the auction paddle in it. Talk about a silent power move. The gesture is small, but the room understands it instantly. He is not just buying a prize for a beautiful woman. He is putting the handle in her hand and letting her tell the elites where the music goes. Sabrina Lark applauds first from the balcony. That single clap gives permission to those who were waiting to see which direction power leaned. Then the room follows. Celeste does not smile at them, and she does not need to. Wyatt stands and looks at Pierce, saying that he was right about discipline. He does not answer. The crowd does it for him. Pierce tries to escape through the side aisle. The same donors who laughed carefully at his jokes now look away from his face. Elite punishment is quiet, no shouting, no thrown drinks, just the sudden discovery that nobody wants to be photographed. Benji leaned close to Wyatt, asking if he should offer the guy the service entrance. Wyatt refused, noting the man already knew the way. All night, the crowd tried to classify him. They wondered if he was a donor, a fraud, or just a rich mistake. Maybe a hidden heir with poor fashion. They settled on dangerous. Dangerous, that reputation gets better service, and it definitely earns him quieter enemies. That quiet part mattered most. The snobs who laughed at the door did not apologize. Instead, they simply recalculated exactly where they should stand. They even debated using Wyatt's name. Soon, the host personally walked the group away. He walked them away while the captain watched. The guard avoided eye contact so intensely that Wyatt almost respected the sheer effort. Up on the balcony, Sabrina Lark watched with a strange, unreadable expression. Meanwhile, Felix Lark took a phone call while keeping his eyes locked onto Wyatt the entire time. At the Halden Capitol table, a vacant chair waited like a silent promise. That really should have been the end. Insults paid, auction settled, Celeste safe, but these payoffs never actually end the pressure. Instead, they just invite smarter enemies. Outside, the gala parking lot had gone cold and quiet. Benji went ahead to bring their car around for them. Issa stayed close to Celeste, both of them exhausted. Then Wyatt heard a struggle. He heard the scuffle before seeing it. Over in the shadows, two men had a woman pinned. They trapped her against a pillar, and one of them grabbed her purse. The other twisted her wrist painfully high. She did not scream, she fought back hard. That grit made Wyatt move faster. He reached the first attacker before the guy even noticed him. Wyatt slammed his shoulder directly into the man's ribs, sending him crashing into the car door. The second thug swung metal at his head, but Wyatt caught his arm, pivoted and slammed him onto the concrete, sending the weapon skittering far under the car. The woman stumbled back, gasping for air. Only then did Wyatt recognize her from the pamphlet. Vera Frost, the Koiflo founder, and she looked incredibly hostile right now. With a split lip and absolutely zero gratitude, she glared. Wyatt asked if she was hurt. Vera stared at the groaning men, then at Wyatt's sleeve, where blood seeped through the fabric. She looked past him toward the hall, calling the timing suspiciously convenient. Wyatt almost laughed. Was that her first sentence? She accused him of staging this whole attack just to gain a perfect, heroic public angle. Vera sneered that he appeared at the exact second. His system pulsed coldly. Her devotion score dropped from 12 to 4, so rescuing her actually made things worse. Talk about an ungrateful rescue, right? Wyatt simply backed away with his hands raised. It seemed emotionally important to her anyway. Vera snatched her purse off the asphalt. She warned Wyatt Locke to stay away. The fact that she already knew his name mattered. As the attackers groaned, the venue's security guards finally came running over. The danger was over. The security captain rushed up first. Sweating profusely, the guard panted that they had everything completely under control now. Vera looked at the beaten thugs, then at Wyatt, and finally back at the captain. She dryly pointed out that they only arrived after all the blood was spilled. Cutting him off, she snapped at him not to take credit for work he did not do. For a brief moment, Wyatt hoped this would turn in his favor, then Vera glared again. She made it clear that warning included him too, rejecting both of them entirely. It was incredibly annoying, yet deeply fascinating. Suddenly, Celeste approached. He checked his bleeding side. Vera remarked he was barely cut, glancing at Celeste, then at Issa, then at him. Her expression sharpened further, as if every woman near him proved her worst guess. Of course, she muttered, there was always an audience. Then she walked away before anyone could clean the scene. He watched her go and felt the night tilt. The usual reward flipped backward, no thank you. No softening, no instant lock, just a woman saved from danger who now trusted him less. Good, easy loops make lazy stories. His phone buzzed before they reached the car. No sender name he recognized, just a formal message. Forwarded through the Bayfront Hall donor office. Holden Capital recommends an executive secretary for your upcoming land and media campus coordination. Attached, resume Claire Ashford. He stared at the name, polished credentials clean. Photo, adult executive presence. Too perfect, too fast. Celeste read over his shoulder. She asked if he knew her. No, another message arrived beneath it. The recommendation comes with excellent references. He looked back at Bayfront Hall, at the glass doors, at the cameras, at the place where he had been mistaken for staff 2 hours earlier. They had tried a locked door. They had tried Pierce. The timing said somebody had watched Vera walk away angry from a real rescue. Now someone was sending him help he had not asked for. He put the phone away. Issa asked what it was. He looked at the empty Holden Capital chair through the window. The next test, he said. This one knows how to apply for a job. Barafrost's first gift to him was suspicion. He had just stopped two men from twisting her wrist behind a parking lot pillar, and she looked at his bleeding sleeve like he had ordered the blood for lighting. Then Holden Capital send him Claire Ashford's resume before the cut on his arm dried. Talk about suspicious. Too fast, too useful. The next morning, Vera texted him first. Do not send his new secretary to Co-Flow. Do not send flowers. Do not send excuses if last night was staged. At least respect her enough to stage it better. He read it twice and smiled. Sierra Lane leaned over his shoulder from the other side of the dorm common room. She hates him with punctuation. Sierra teased, respecting that. She writes, better threats than Pierce. Everyone does. Pierce threatened him with sports. Celeste Monroe sat across from him, with the Riverside Estates gate card beside her coffee. She had already seen Claire's resume, the polished photo, the clean credentials, and the recommendation chain through Holden Capital. Celeste warned him not to accept help that arrived before he asked for it. Issa Durant looked up from her company control phone, suggesting he accept it and make the help her prove who she serves. That was the difference between women who had been caged and women who only watched cages. Issa understood that a suspicious tool was still a tool. He replied to Vera, no flowers, no excuses. If he staged anything, she would get better lighting. Her answer came back in 4 seconds. Stay away from her company, she wrote. Naturally, the next expensive idea involved her company. He did not know yet that the women had started coordinating. Not fully, he only noticed the pattern. Sierra asked whether he had ever bought anything useful instead of loud. Celeste asked what Black Cat Live would do if the campus music program needed real control instead of donor attention. Issa asked how much a building cost when it came with no father's office in it. Vanessa had no right to ask for anything, yet she still sent a single line. If he was not broke, she wanted him to prove it by spending 4 requests with 4 different tones, but all bringing the exact same pressure. The old Wyatt would have panicked. The new Wyatt simply checked his balance. Looking at his counterbalance wallet, his greed sat up like an excited dog. He had no plans to stop them. If they wanted to spend his money, go ahead. He met them at Riverside Estates because Celeste refused to stream from the lake house. No streams, not until their first event actually had a purpose. Sierra wore dark sunglasses despite the cloudy weather, while Issa brought 2 folders. She knew he hated paperwork that didn't bleed profit. Vanessa arrived last. She held her phone tightly, as if it could shield her from being ignored. Vera didn't show up, messaging Celeste to tell Wyatt that Kaflo wasn't for sale. It wasn't for sale to men who collect women. Celeste read it calmly. Sierra whistled. She skipped being rude and went straight to useful. Vanessa asked why Vera was texting her. Celeste replied it was because of trust. She trusted her more than him, since they had met the previous night. That should have annoyed him. It did, but it gave him a clean route. He opened the dashboard on the new phone Celeste had bought him. The platform still treated Midnight Whale as a generous donor, not an owner. Highly inefficient. Worse, Lacey Pratt was already posting clips online. She claimed she could bring Midnight Whale back if Black Cat Live gave her the front page. She lost one duel and still thought her public humiliation was temporary. He placed his phone on the table, asking Celeste what she would do first. If she controlled the Black Cat Live campus program, what would she do first? Sierra begged her to ban Lacey. Celeste did not smile, offering her own plan. She would move key slots away from study rooms and charity showcases. If Lacey wanted a slot, she would have to audition like everyone else. His phone buzzed instantly. A message from Lacey claimed she knew he was watching. She begged for one stream tonight. He silently showed the message to Celeste. Sierra called her timing a disease. Celeste silently held out her hand. Give me the dashboard. Her demand literally shifted the air. Vanessa's eyes flicked to him. Issa's fingers tightened around her own phone. Sierra stopped joking, dying to see if he would actually hand over real power. Would it be true authority or just another gift? He transferred the power. He gave the campus program control to Celeste and fully funded her account. He did it quickly before anyone could turn the moment into a debate. The approval banner appeared. Absolute silence fell over the lake house. Celeste stared at her name, telling him to use it. He hesitated. He called it too much trust. Celeste argued letting Lacey run free was worse. Sierra laughed first, but Celeste remained completely serious. She opened the panel. One click, Lacey's pending request vanished from the front queue. A second later, a frantic private message from Lacey hit his phone. Lacey demanded to know what he did. Celeste answered directly from the platform account. She told Lacey she could audition when she stopped selling panic as affection. Sierra slapped the table. She absolutely loved this display of rich authority. Teeth, the system pulsed over Celeste, even though she had already locked in. Counterattack rebate route expanded. Platform asset influence increased. Romance had nothing to do with it. Celeste had real infrastructure now. Vanessa watched the dashboard like it was that Aster and Birch bag all over again. Except worse, a luxury bag made a woman visible. A platform gave her a room full of doors, she muttered, so she asks and just gets a company. Celeste looked at her. He said, I asked for work, you asked for proof. Vanessa went still. Sierra whispered. Quiet girls stab better, I keep saying it. Then his phone rang, Vera Frost calling. He put her on speaker. Her voice cut through the room. If you are done buying applause, tell your platform girl not to drag Kaflo into your circus. Celeste's eyebrow moved. Platform girl. Vera heard her. Accurate enough, he replied. Vera What does Koflo need? Nothing from you. Vera snapped. That was not my question. She went quiet for 1 second too long. Good, talk about a reality check. Then she admitted, we have a share block trapped by investors who think last night's attack makes me unstable. They want me out before launch. If I had the money, I would buy them out and fire every man who called concern a strategy, but I do not have the money. He smiled deeply. She snapped, I hate you. He replied, invoice it. Sierra mouthed, marry me to the ceiling. Vera snapped, do not mock me. He replied, I am not. I am making the request clear. You want control of Koflo without owing those men. To look weak, her silence was his answer. He sent the purchase through under Vera Frost's name, not his but hers. The confirmation came back in less than a minute because fear makes sellers efficient. Koflo share block transferred. Vera Frost on the speaker. Vera did not speak at first. He heard movement, then a door opening, then voices behind her. Her team must have seen the update before she could even find a response. A woman in the background yelled, Vera, they backed off. They just backed off. Another voice cried out, you kept control. That reaction mattered, not because people were shocked, because Vera's authority had survived a public attack, and her own people saw it happen. Vera came back to the phone, her voice dropping lower. What do you want in exchange? For you to stop calling every rescue staged. It gets repetitive. No, then start with a cheaper favor. What? Build something worth the money. The system pulsed. Vera Frost's devotion score went from 4 to 29. Not trust, not gratitude. A hostile woman discovering that his money could return power to her hand without closing around her throat. Vera told him she still did not trust him. Good, he said, trust is expensive, so keep charging. She hung up, only to call back 30 seconds later. Do not come here, Vera warned. To him, that was almost always an invitation. Koflo's office sat behind glass walls filled with stressed people. By the time he arrived, 2 investor representatives were standing near Vera's main table, with the bitter faces of men whose leverage had completely expired before lunch. One of them held a printed packet in his hand. The other kept staring at the share update on his phone, as if refreshing it might somehow restore the patriarchy. Vera stood at the head of the table with her split lips still faintly visible. She looked tired, furious, and more alive than she had back in the parking lot. The man with the packet pointed directly at him. This is exactly what we warned about. A stranger throws money into your company, and suddenly you think governance is. Vera glares at the man. He called her unstable right after her attack. He called it governance when trying to steal her seat. She warns him. The man tenses up, muttering that Koflo needs adult supervision. Our main character steps beside Vera, asking if this is their best insult. Or maybe the printer cut off the router pages. The second man snaps. He asks why they were yelling loud enough for the interns to hear. The room reacts instantly. A woman at a far desk sits up straighter. A junior developer stops typing. Vera's team keeps their eyes on her instead. Her new share block makes her the only voice that actually matters now. Vera picks up their printed proposal and tears it right down the middle. Talk about a power move. One clean rip makes the intruders flinch. She declares her seat stays hers, warning that anyone exploiting her attack can leave. They better get out before she starts remembering names. The man looks panicked. He looks over at our main character for help, which is honestly hilarious. Our guy warns them that a piece of paper will never protect them. They retreat with their ruined paperwork. Vera watches the glass doors close. She tells him she did not need his help, though she knows it was a gift. Vera's score jumps to 36, still hostile but starting to trust. Sierra leans back and stares when he returns to the Riverside Estates mansion. She jokes that he is speedrunning every woman's red flag checklist. It might be both. Issa looks up from her folders, announcing her turn. Her request is quiet compared to Sierra's teasing, but carries serious weight. Her father always held company meetings in offices where he controlled the doors. Elites use private dining rooms and lawyers use side offices, Issa explains. She refuses to let her people beg for permission to sit at their own table. Opening a real estate listing, she shows him a brickfront building in Lake Haven. It has ground floor offices, with upper floors ready to become studios. Having some space to breathe finally allows Issa to make her own choice. She wants this under her own company, free from her father. Vanessa watches. She stares at the screen, whispering that this is not just a gift, but a future. Issa nods in agreement. Our main character immediately approves purchasing the entire building. The confirmation hits Issa's phone while she still looks at him in shock. She expected a catch or a second signature, but the key code arrives instantly. Under her full authority, Issa closes her eyes just as her father calls. She stares at the incoming call, takes a breath, and quietly mutes him. That simple thumb swipe is worth far more than the actual brick building. Sierra stops smirking, while Celeste and Vanessa watch Issa with deep, silent respect. Vanessa stares at the muted phone, learning how to stand up for herself. The system pulses again, expanding his massive counterattack and asset network. His power is really stacking up now, with key businesses under Celeste and Vera. Plus the new building under Issa, every single request was designed to drain him. Yet each attempt only gave these women more authority, fueling his system. Just then Sierra's phone lights up on the table, exposing a hidden text. She grabs for it too late. He sees messages urging Vanessa to push harder. They wanted to make him sweat, not accidentally turn themselves into his allies. Celeste needs to choose requests that create actual leverage, not clutter. Issa gets no useless gifts, and Vera is told he is not part of their ridiculous emotional committee. Sierra grabs the phone, silence. Vanessa looks caught. Celeste is annoyed that Sierra failed basic screen safety. Issa looks at Gavin without lying, admitting they wanted to make him spend until he showed them where his act ended. Vanessa's voice comes smaller, admitting she wanted him to feel what being used is like. Sierra lifts one hand, confessing she wanted to win before Celeste's strategy ruined the purity of her pettiness. Celeste calls her pettiness unfocused, making Sierra snap defensively. Gavin looks at them. The old him would feel betrayed, but the new him focus on the ownership dashboards, the key codes, the share transfers, and the counterbalance screen stacking massive rewards like an applauding machine. Then he laughs, making Vanessa flinch and ask why he is laughing. They tried to bankrupt a man whose system rewards spending on women. Sierra stares. Celeste closes her eyes for a second while Issa smiles. Gavin picks up his phone, opening Vantage Row Imports. Sierra narrows her eyes, asking what he is doing. He claims he is thanking his board, though they reject the title. Still, they just organized asset allocation, pressure testing, and hostile share recovery in a single group chat, which is more useful than Baron Hall's men. Unbelievably, Vantage Row Imports delivers those supercar keys to Riverside Estates, not as romantic gestures, but as weapons with wheels for women who had accidentally become operators. Sierra takes her key, whispering that this feels like losing but with better seats, while Celeste accepts her own, declaring that work transportation is acceptable. Issa holds hers like a door her father cannot control. Vanessa stares at the key Gavin places in front of her without touching it, asking why he gave her one. He tells her regret is useless if it never moves, prompting her to take it with shaking fingers. For once, she does not ask what this means for their future, only where she should drive. Gavin's system pulses over her locked profile, but he refuses to let those numbers be the focus. Vanessa's true punishment is not poverty, it is watching her dream world get built by women who no longer wait for Gavin's permission. Celeste then uses Black Cat Live for the final move of the day, putting Camilla Rook on the evening feature. Camilla walks onto a small Silverline studio stage, wearing a stiff smile as scandal rumors still damage her name. Howard Kincaid stands near the side curtain, telling everyone she is unbookable, unstable, and finished. He sees Gavin beside Celeste, smiling like he found a new donor to embarrass. He says they are wasting money on damaged talent, claiming pretty faces are easily replaceable but reputation is not. Hearing this, Camilla's smile cracks. Celeste steps to the microphone before Gavin can answer, announcing that Black Cat Live features Camilla Rook tonight, and Celeste declares Silverline Studios will back her next project, saying anyone who considers talent replaceable can leave before the cameras turn on. Howard laughs, asking who authorized that. Gavin lifts his black card, calling himself the damaged donor. The funding clears for Silverline Studios, backing Camilla Rook. With the feature active, Camilla's expression changes on. The camera captured pure hunger, not gratitude, the raw drive artists get when handed a stage. Right in front of the very man who called them finished, Howard tried to push forward. He tried to step onto the stage. The manager blocked him. Howard glanced at Celeste. Then he looked at the protagonist, then at Camilla, who was already speaking to the camera. I was told my career ended in rooms I could not enter, Camilla said clearly. Her voice was strong now, so tonight, I am starting where no one can lock me out. Live comments flooded the screen too fast to read. Suddenly, Howard's phone vibrated violently. Whatever popped up made his jaw drop. Lacey Pratt's name vanished from the top queue. Camilla's name climbed. Howard turned to him. "You cannot just buy an audience." "Correct," he replied. "I only bought her a stage. She is taking the audience herself. And she is doing it while you watch." The entire studio laughed at Howard. Under the bright lights stood the real victory. Not a contract, nor cleared funds. Camilla stayed. She owned the stage, while Howard realized his replaceable target was now completely out of reach. Her rival was far above him now. Suddenly, the system stacked a new route. His career influence surged. By the time he left the studio, his phone had 96 notifications. 96 unread texts. He ignored them all, letting his silence force Halden's hand. Halden had to invent a new lie, while our hero quietly monitored his rising assets. The wealthy vultures only saw his dead silence. They saw massive spending. He saw Kahlo shares, a massive building, Camilla's rise, and supercar keys. And yet zero explanation. To those elites, heavy spending meant just two things: total dominance or complete financial ruin. Naturally, they chose the easy answer. They claimed Midnight Whale was totally broke. Soon, the first desperate message arrived. A donor who once praised him at the hall quickly deleted his own supportive messages. He left the group chat before his loyalty could even be recorded. Then another followed. Halden Capital's name floated behind the rumors, hiding safely in the shadows. Cowards always hide behind whispers. By midnight, Claire Ashford sent a single urgent text. "Pine County land is selling fast," she warned. "Halden Capital is sabotaging you. They are telling sellers you are broke. Ignore this and your media project dies." He stared at her warning, then looked over Claire's highly impressive, polished resume. Outside, the city was already deciding he had bankrupted himself, boosting other people. Ironically, those same women tried to ruin him, but built an empire instead. Now Halden wanted to prove his empire was hollow, so he hired Claire Ashford. He hired her before trusting her. Sometimes, paying the bait is the safest route. You send them into the trap first, classic survival chess. By morning, the rumor solidified. Midnight Whale was supposedly broke, not just quiet, not busy, but completely ruined. The private group chat that cheered his piano performance suddenly grew dead silent. Members started leaving before breakfast, the very men who clapped for him. They now sent cautious, cowardly texts warning each other about financial risk. In plain English, they wanted his wealth, not his current trouble. Claire Ashford arrived at 9 a.m. sharp with a mysterious black folder. Dressed in a sharp suit, she had that elite, expensive school confidence to her. He observed her closely before opening the file. Instantly, his system flashed. Claire Ashford, devotion score 18, eligible negative. He immediately liked her. A woman who disliked him up front at least was not selling fake sweetness. Quietly, Claire placed the heavy folder onto his desk without a single word. Wyatt sits, held in capital, believes he will miss the Pine County closing window. Before noon, sellers are told his liquidity is gone. Celeste Monroe stood by the window with her arms crossed. Issa Durant sat near the table with her phone open to her real-time building dashboard. Sierra Lane had taken the chair nearest the door because she said secretaries with perfect posture were how rich people introduced knives. Sierra pointed directly at Claire, calling her a knife. Claire stared back. Sierra smiled. "I might keep you." Wyatt opened the folder. One map, 3 marked parcels, a narrow strip between Pine County and the planned Blue Harbor Media campus. There was no spreadsheet or lecture, just one ink-drawn picture of a trap. Claire said, "If Halden controls the strip, your media campus route becomes a dead end. If you overpay for the wrong lots, the entire public sees panic. Either way, the bankruptcy rumor becomes useful." Useful to who? Wyatt asked. She did not blink. To anyone patient enough to buy up all the pieces after you fail. Not a confession, not proof, but she had walked in carrying Halden's pressure like she knew its weight from the inside. Wyatt closed the folder. "You are officially hired," he said. Celeste turned Wyatt. Claire's eyes narrowed for the first time. "That was fast." "So was your recommendation." "I am matching energy." Sierra stood. "If she betrays us, I get to say I said knife." "Put it on a shirt," Wyatt said. Claire finally sat down. "What do you want me to do?" "Spend." Her expression did not change, but the score blinked. -18 to -12. Curiosity hates being ignored. Before Wyatt could give Claire the first order, Ruth Locke called. His mother did not call during business pressure unless family had already reached fire. He answered. "Wyatt." Ruth said, her voice tight. "Mia is at Blue Harbor Media Campus. They will not let her through the gate." Every woman in the room looked at him. Mia Rowan was not a romance target, she was not a system game. She was family, messy, and public. In the way only a father's abandoned history can be, his father had left damage behind, and Mia had grown into an adult who wanted a study stream, a clean scholarship route, and one day where her last name did not make people whisper. Ruth lowered her voice. A guard said that Lark list does not include family. Rumors, Mia heard him. The entire office went incredibly still. Sabrina Lark's family had been watching him since Bayfront Hall. Felix Lark had watched much harder. Apparently watching was not enough. They had touched family. Wyatt stood. Said the Pine County window closes at noon. Then learn exactly how I prioritize. Blue Harbor Media Campus still smelled like new paint and donor pride. At the main gate, Mia Rowan stood with her backpack clutched against her chest, while a security guard blocked the entry scanner. Felix Lark stood 10 feet away with a phone in his hand, pretending the guard's cruelty was not his sentence, with a different mouth. Sabrina Lark stood beside him. She was not smiling now. Mia saw him and tried to straighten as if she had not been embarrassed in public. That hurt. Publicly and cleanly, the guard lifted a hand. Campus access is restricted, he said. Wyatt looked at his hand. Lower it. Felix finally looked up. Wyatt, this is a misunderstanding. The campus has reputation guidelines. We cannot have every personal rumor walking into a private donor space. Mia flinched. That was indeed the sound of the line landing. Wyatt crossed the distance before Felix finished. Pretending he was polite, the guard stepped in his path. Wyatt moved him into the Wyatt pins the guard against the post with one clean twist of his shoulder. Nothing broken, nothing heroic, just a lesson that uniforms are not walls. Wyatt swipes his badge. The gate clicks open. Mia stares in silence. Felix grinds his teeth, furious that Wyatt is making a scene over some girl. Wyatt tells him to repeat that, while Sabrina watches her brother. Felix ignores her entirely, snapping that Wyatt cannot play savior to everyone. Wyatt snaps back that he is protecting family, not some random asset. Felix sneers that Wyatt should have just stayed rich, quiet, and out of sight. Around them, students freeze. Staff watch. Mia grips her backpack straps. Sabrina stares at Wyatt, no longer calculating, but looking completely baffled. Her clean formula has failed. Wyatt calmly reaches into his pocket. He holds out a black card. Sabrina hesitates, asking what it is. 50 billion in project control, Wyatt says, set to her birthday. Felix mocks it as a toy, but Wyatt corrects him immediately. Their worst nightmare, trust. The guard groans in pain nearby. Nobody helps the groaning guard. Sabrina stares directly at the card. Why me, she asks. Wyatt says Felix underestimates the Lark women. Prove him wrong or right, Wyatt challenges. He gets his answer either way. Felix steps forward, ordering her not to touch it. That backfires. Sabrina grabs the card. The system flashes, a sudden score jump. From 8 to 42, Mia whispers, asking Wyatt what he did. Just opening some gates, he says. Now watch Sabrina make her move. She asks if he understands what her family can do with this access. Wyatt counters, he knows what she can do. That is why he chose her. Felix is furious. His sister is suddenly showing a spine in public. Sabrina walks through the gate and hands Mia a physical visitor pass. She clears Mia. Anyone who calls her a rumor answers to her. The gate staff hears the threat. The guard hears it clearly too. Felix hears it clearest. Then the system alerts again. Sabrina Lark, devotion score 42 to 95. Devotion lock triggered. Massive rebate unlocks. Trust is far more dangerous than any blade. No smile. Sabrina turns her cold, quiet gaze directly to Felix. Tell the family office I am no longer studying Wyatt, she says. You will regret this, Felix warns. Sabrina says stop making it easy. Sierra pulls up in the second car, catching those last words. She mutters that quieter women need to stop stealing the best lines. Wyatt almost laughs, then Claire Ashford calls, her voice eerily calm. She has the sellers, but Halden is pushing them to reject him. To secure the strip, she needs direct authority to spend right now. Wyatt looks at Sabrina holding the card, then back to Mia. His family is safe, trust is weaponized, time to move now. He instructs Claire to buy the ugly, wrong lots first. That is the plan. Wrong lots breed carelessness. She hesitates. Is this some kind of trap? He admits she is too useful to be innocent, but tells her to spend. Her score rises from -12 to -3, progress or perhaps infection. It started with a quiet offer. She led Locke straight into the Pine County cellar. Room while rumors were still fresh, very useful. Traps work best when they think Locke is exhausted. 3 sellers waited with stiff faces. A Halden representative stood near the window, watching them like a hawk. Pretending he was only there as a courtesy, he stared at Locke's plain coat. Claire and then at Sabrina holding the black card. Locke, the representative, called out. Pine County appreciates serious buyers. We understand your public commitments have been quite extensive. For them, extensive meant wild parties, fast cars, and women. It meant the entire city thought Locke had spent his entire fortune on nothing because they could not imagine spending money on women, returning anything but pure regret. Sierra would have loved the insult. She was with Mia, so Locke enjoyed it for her. Locke looked over at Claire, asking which parcel they wanted him to avoid. The representative's smile twitched. Claire's eyes moved to the ugly triangle at the edge of the map. That parcel appears useless without access. Appears, Locke slowly repeated. Good word, buy it first under Sabrina Lark's project control. Sabrina set the black card on the table. One seller leaned forward, calling the parcel overpriced. Overpriced, then it matches the room, Locke said, right as the approval hit. The representative stopped smiling. Issa's voice came through on Locke's speaker. My Lake Haven County building gives us the permit tie. Do not let them ever detach the triangle. Vera's sharp voice joined immediately after. Coiflow service route touches the strip if the triangle closes first. Locke still hated this map, but it worked. The sellers looked at each other. The Halden representative stared at Claire. Oh, you can feel the rising tension right here. Suspicion, he saw his own tool moving the wrong piece and could not. Without exposing why he cared, Locke leaned back in his chair. Claire, buy. Strip now, the representative warned. That strip has heavily contested value, Halden. Capital may still bid. May is a poor man's will, Locke countered. Are you bidding or performing weather? Sabrina's mouth curved. Claire placed the second approval. Before the representative could call, strip transferred. The room came alive. Sellers sat straight. One whispered that the dead end was not dead anymore. The representative stepped into the hall and made a call with his back turned. But glass doors are not magic. Locke saw his shoulders stiffen as the call taught him fear. Claire watched him. Through the glass, her perfect applicant mask slipped, showing a woman. Hearing her leash creak, Locke demanded the last piece. Claire asked if I buy it. Halden would know. Locke smiled, wanting him to know only when it was too late. The final Pine County approval cleared at 11:43. That dead end became a corridor. Blue Harbor Media Campus had a solid footprint. The system pulsed. The asset network increased. Halden Capital's trap had not failed. It sold him the floor in front of its own witness. Then the crash came. Claire insisted on bringing the physical map copy herself. Meanwhile, Mia was waiting inside Locke's car because he refused to leave her at a gate that showed everyone she mattered. They were only 2 blocks from Blue Harbor when a black SUV ran the red light, slamming into the passenger side and spinning them hard into the curb. Glass shattered. Mia screamed once. Claire's door crushed completely inward. In an instant, the world was airbag powder, blaring horns and hot metal. The system's strength moved before fear could even register. Wyatt shoved his door open, pulling Mia out. First, checking her face. She was shaking but said she was okay, pointing back to Claire. Claire was pinned against the passenger side, her hand pressed tightly to her cheek. Blood ran between her fingers. Her usual calm was completely gone, shattered by the sudden pain. Wyatt tore the bent car door back with raw strength to reach her. The metal screamed. Claire gasped as he pulled her free. A deep cut ran from the side of her cheek toward her jaw. She touched it once, turning pale as she whispered about her ruined face. Not vanity, just pure fear of losing her worth. Wyatt took off his jacket, pressing the soft fabric gently against her open cut. He told her she was alive, but she looked back like that simply was not enough. He knew that exact look all too well. People used as tools fear damage differently. They do not ask if they hurt, they only ask if they are still worth keeping. Wyatt placed a steady, unyielding hand under her chin, forcing her to focus. He told Claire to look at him, promising to buy a better answer if it scarred. And even if it did not scar, he told her she was not getting thrown out just because the packaging took a hit. Her eyes changed. The system pulsed, raising Claire's score to 19. Soon, paramedics and police arrived. Officers tried to ask questions, but Wyatt cut them off, speaking directly to the nearest officer. He told them to take the driver, refusing to make this crash a hearing right. Now the heavy consequences had already landed. Mia was shaking, and Claire was bleeding but alive. A glass-dusted map was still clutched tightly in her And, by evening, Bright Glass Cosmetics delivered the healing cream Wyatt. Ordered under Claire's name, no fancy formula or miracle speech, just a clean box containing a visible promise. As the courier left, Sabrina's phone rang. It was Felix Lark calling. Talk about perfect timing, she put him on speaker. Without asking Wyatt, Felix did not waste time, demanding she return the family card so they could overlook her youthful confusion. Sabrina looked at the black card on the table, declaring she was not confused but funded. Felix warned she was being used. Sabrina simply replied that he had publicly humiliated Mia first. Felix's voice sharpened, demanding to know if she was choosing Wyatt over blood. No, she replied, she was choosing the one who understood. That blood without respect is just a stain. The line went silent, hit like shattered glass. Sabrina ended the call. Her devotion lock had already triggered, but that choice still mattered. The system could display a number, but it could not force a woman to defy her family like this. That heart was purely hers. Claire watched Sabrina hang up, her face tightening, as if she had just spotted an escape route, but hated how distant it appeared. Later, Claire sat in Wyatt's office with a bandage on her cheek and the cream box on her lap, staring at it. She whispered that he should be angry at her, not the cream. She had done nothing to deserve this. Sierra leaned against the door, announcing a confession was coming. Claire admitted she was right. Sierra sighed, muttering that she hated being right. Claire reached into her damaged folder, pulling out her secretary badge, snapped completely in half. She confessed that Hoenn Capital had sent her. The word spy did not need to be. It just needed to be late enough to hurt properly. Celeste looked at Wyatt. Issa's eyes went sharp. Sabrina sat near Mia with the 50 billion card resting on the table, completely motionless. Claire continued her explanation. The recommendation was real, but her loyalty was fake. She was told to push Wyatt into wrong Pine County parcels, make the closings look desperate, and report when his funding slowed. When Wyatt asked about the crash, her mouth tightened, a warning she did not know from whom yet. She only knew Halden called afterward, asking whether the map survived before he even asked if she did. Nobody gasped. Judgment hit harder. Claire set another phone on the table and played the last voice message. Landon Halden's smooth, irritated voice filled the room, ordering Claire to bring the map back and leave her scarred face out of his office. She had one job and turned herself into proof of failure. If Wyatt Locke still found her useful, she should drain him one more time, if not disappear. Claire stopped the message. Her eyes did not lift. She admitted transferring 30 billion through sellers controlled by Halden before she understood the corridor. He had the cash while Wyatt had the land, but the city saw the spend and thought he was broke. 30 billion, Sierra whispered. Vanessa, arriving mid-chaos, stood near the wall like walking guilt, covering her mouth as Claire spoke. Claire's voice cracked as she confessed losing $30 billion. Wyatt looked at the map. The Pine County corridor was theirs. The Blue Harbor route existed. Sabrina had split from Felix publicly. Mia was safe. Claire had been discarded by the man who planted her. Wyatt leaned back. Claire, he said, that is the first useful thing you have done all week. She stared. Everyone stared at him. Wyatt pointed at the map. Halden sold him pieces meant to strand him. He took the money but lost the floor, spending her loyalty and losing his spy. Wyatt called that expensive, not useless. Claire's face contorted in pain. Round the bandage, surely he was not firing her for losing 30 billion to complete her media campus route. No, Wyatt replied. He was considering a bonus if she stopped looking like forgiveness gave her allergies. Suddenly the system flashed. Claire Ashford, devotion. Score 19 to 95. Devotion lock triggered. Counterattack rebate unlocked. Skill module became available. The reward hit hard, but the room did not soften. True trust. That costs nothing, feels fake. This trust had blood, public rumors, a broken badge, and $30 billion of enemy money attached. Claire picked up the Scarcream box with both hands, saying Halden had one more move. Wyatt nodded. To show him, she unfolded the attack map. No private boardrooms, no hidden villain speeches, just what she brought back after being thrown away. Halden's pressure points were marked in red: Pine County rumors, Blue Harbor doubt, black cat liquidity panic, and a public appearance at the Riverton Go Invitational the next morning, where Kenji, his rival, would be waiting for him on broadcast. Sabrina looked at the map. He wants his money and skill, questioned at the same time. Celeste warned that if Wyatt answered only one, the other became the story. Mia, still pale from the crash but sitting upright, looked at his phone. People were saying Midnight Whale stopped replying because he had nothing left. The donor chat kept bleeding names. The city already believed Wyatt was bankrupt. By morning, that belief would harden unless he killed it somewhere. Everyone could watch. Wyatt looked at Mia, then at Black Cat Live, and finally at the board. Claire had reached devotion lock, bringing the knife back by the handle, a dangerous move. Now Wyatt had exactly one night to prove the whale was still alive, by 2 in. Morning, Lake Haven had already buried him. The legendary midnight whale was supposedly broke. Halden Capital did not say it directly. Cowards with money rarely left fingerprints. They just let donors leave the chat. They let the sellers whisper. They let small men repeat massive lies until those lies sounded like absolute truth. Claire Ashford stood in his office, a bandage on her cheek, studying Halden's map. The targets were clear: Pine County pressure, Blue Harbor doubt, and Black Cat liquidity panic. 4 red marks stained the Riverton board. The trap was set. One morning, Mia Rowan sat on the couch, hugging her laptop tightly to her chest. She was still pale from the crash, but her eyes had finally stopped shaking. Mia whispered that people in her stream were accusing Wyatt of using her for cheap sympathy. Sierra Lane leaned over the couch, offering to traumatize the trolls alphabetically in 10 minutes. Celeste Monroe immediately shut that down. They needed to answer them with a real result. Issa Durant tapped the Blue Harbor map, pointing out the liquidity rumor. That lie had to die first. Sabrina Lark stared at the black card. She warned him that spending through a private transfer would just look entirely fake. Claire quietly added that releasing any official statement would only make them look panicked. Vera Frost joined via speaker from Kylo, refusing to attend a meeting she had not planned. She told them to stop talking and make the entire streaming platform scream instead. For once, everyone agreed with her. Wyatt turned his gaze back to Mia. She was never supposed to be a target in this vicious corporate war. He decided to use his personal rebate balance directly on Black Cat Live. The response had to be clean enough to choke every single greedy opportunist. Mia swallowed hard, whispering to Wyatt that she did not want to be used. Wyatt told her not to perform, but just to study and let the haters look foolish. She stared at him for a long moment, then quietly started her study stream. No fancy lights, no dramatic crying thumbnails, no emotional speeches, just Mia at her desk. Books were stacked beside her laptop, and her hands were still visibly trembling. The comments turned ugly immediately, mockingly asking where her broke whale brother was. They claimed the midnight whale spent everything on women. Wyatt waited patiently. Get ready, because he dropped his first massive stream rocket right then. Mia's eyes jumped. The toxic chat froze for a split second. Then he sent 100. The massive support banner flashed. Then 1,000, then 10,000. The homepage buckled under the insane traffic. Celeste's phone vibrated nonstop from the sheer load. Mia covered her mouth. She whispered his name, but Wyatt simply told her to keep studying. Tears welled in her eyes as she read her textbook, ignoring the digital storm. It was the perfect response: quiet, undeniable, and completely devoid of cheap drama. Just a quiet student, instantly turning a malicious rumor into massive hype. She became the most watched streamer on the platform before sunrise. The private donor chat, which had been losing members, woke up fast. One deserter begged to return at 2:17, another claimed misinformation. A third desperately asked for remaining partnership slots. Wyatt just smiled. The loyalty list is tiny. The few names who stayed during the rumors fit on one screen. But those begging to return could fill a banquet hall, and the first call comes through Celeste's phone. She puts it on speaker, holding it far away from her. Face as if the caller's voice might stain the glass. It is a donor who left at midnight saying there was a misunderstanding. He still wants to discuss a Blue Harbor Media Campus slot. Celeste looks over at Locke, but he just shakes his head. She tells the donor his slot went to someone who understood silence. Differently, the donor laughs weakly, telling Celeste not to get emotional. He just used the worst possible word for a woman holding Locke's platform authority. After watching cowardly men run from a rumor, Celeste's voice remains perfectly even. This is not emotional, she says. It is operational. You left under pressure. Blue Harbor needs partners who do not mistake panic for strategy, Sierra puts. Both hands over her heart, she's absolutely destroying him with corporate language. The donor tries one more time, asking to settle with Mr. Locke directly. Locke leans toward the phone and says they just did. Celeste ends the call. Another message hits Ella's phone from a business contact, who ignored her after Preston Gray lost. The private dining room. Ella reads it, smiles, and turns her screen. Around, the contact is asking if her Lake Haven County building is still considering outside tenants. They literally called her a liability yesterday, Isla says. Mia asks what she will answer. Isla types with one thumb that liabilities have waiting lists. Even Vera laughs over the speaker. Now that is a real power move. The rumor sorted people by fear, and now every woman at the table has a door to open or keep closed. Locke sends Celeste the list of supporters who stayed. Blue Harbor slots, he tells her, are only for them. Celeste reads it and nods. As for the others, they can watch the stream. Sierra laughs so hard she has to sit down. Ella looks at the list, calling it cruel. No. Claire says softly, touching the edge of her bandage, it is just accurate. By 3. Black Hat Live's front page has one story. Midnight Whale has serious money. By 4. The wealthy donors who fled are frantically sending apologies to the women they underestimated just yesterday. Celeste receives one from a platform sponsor. Vera gets one from a co-flow investor. Isla receives 2 from people who suddenly remembered her building has doors. Camilla Rook sends a live clip from Silverline Studios, showing Howard Kincincade's name completely erased from the stage program. Mercy has nothing to do with this. It is simple sorting. The same people who abandoned Locke when the rumors sounded useful are now locked outside, while the women they dismissed hold the keys. The system pulses. Public liquidity is proven complete. Counterattack rebates stabilize. Asset network synchronized. The first red mark on Claire's map goes dark. Black Hat panic is dead. Kenji still has the go board. Riverton Arena looks different in daylight. Basketball banners above, donor seating below, cameras along the main floor, and in the center of it all, a quiet go board under white broadcast lights. Kenji sits at one side of the board, calm enough to annoy Locke. He is no campus bully like Pierce, nor a cheap rich boy like Gavin. He is a skilled public rival with clean hands, a cold reputation, and enough confidence to command the crowd's respect. Even before making a single move, that makes him useful. Landon Halden stands near the man in a gray suit, speaks to Felix Lark as if the morning donation had only irritated him. His eyes flicked to Claire's bandage once, then darted away. Claire saw it and refused to look down. Soon, a host introduced Kenji as the international star of the Riverton Go Invitational, and the room applauded with genuine respect. Then the host introduced Locke, and the applause grew louder but messier. It was just money applause, rumor applause from people wanting to be seen clapping before the next update told them it was safe. He saw the split in the front row. Those who stayed during the rumors clapped like they had earned the sound. The ones who crawled back clapped like they were testing whether their hands still belonged in the room. That subtle difference. Loyalty is always easiest to fake before the score is visible and consequences start charging public interest. Kenji looked right at him across the board, saying in a clear voice that a donation only proves money, but a board proves mind. Halden smiled, then stepped close enough for the front microphones to catch him, while pretending he had forgotten they existed, declaring that a generous man can still be empty, offering no offense. To Mr. Locke, the public deserves to know if this midnight whale has substance. Beneath the spectacle, Halden aimed that line at every donor who had crawled back after Mia's stream, wanting them nervous again. If Kenji crushed Locke, the morning donation would become a panic flare instead of proof. If he refused to play, Halden would claim he could buy women, platforms, buildings, and cars, but not courage. Talk about a cold-blooded move from Halden. Almost, there lay the question, clean, public, and sharp enough for every viewer to understand. Was he only a wallet? He sat across from Kenji, saying, that money gets boring when people run out of price tags. The skill module from Bayfront Hall had not been Go. Piano taught timing. Basketball taught space. The system had opened a mental processing route after Claire's lock, and the Go board lit under his eyes with patterns that felt less like genius and more like someone had cleared fog off a window. Locke did not explain that to the room, and Locke simply played the first stone. Kenji did not rush, making him dangerous. He built pressure slowly, letting him win little edges that looked good to amateurs while he tightened the center. The broadcast comments scrolled behind the cameras, claiming the wallet was surviving and Kenji was baiting him. Halden stayed calm. Celeste watched the board from the front row. Sierra stood behind her, whispering curses at every piece, as if intimidation actually worked on stones. Issa held the Blue Harbor folder. Sabrina held the Lark project card. Vera had finally come in person and stood with her arms folded, looking as if she would rather He audited, then emotionally invested. Neil watched from the side with her. Stream still live on a second screen. Vanessa stood near the back. He saw her. Once and then stopped, giving her free space in his head. Kenji placed a stone. That made the audience murmur, having cut his left side. A commentator whispered that Locke had fallen for a classic trap. Haldon's smile widened by 1 millimeter. Good, let him own the prediction. He answered on the other side of the board. The commentator stopped whispering. Kenji stared at the stone. Longer than he had looked at any move before. The first real crack showed. There he placed another stone to seal the cut, while Sierra hissed that she let him. Why is he letting the calm guy eat him? Vera asked. Because he is annoying. Our guy almost laughed, Vera trusting his annoyance might have been her most romantic act, and she would have fired anyone who said so. 3 moves later, the trap closed, not on him but on Kenji. The left side he thought he had cut became bait, the center he built became overextended, and the quiet corner he had been feeding like a useless pet suddenly connected everything. Kenji's hand paused over the bowl. The room felt it before they understood it. The commentator insisted that cannot be right, and then the second commentator confirmed that Kenji had to answer. Kenji answered, and our guy cut again. His calm thinned. The next 10 minutes were not dramatic in terms of movement. No shouting, no throne chair, just one public expert realizing the broke campus. Rumor and the reckless donor had no business seeing so deep into the boards he fought, and that mattered. A weak rival would make the win cheap. Kenji made him pay attention. Then he placed the final stone against his top group. He stared at it as cameras moved closer, and Haldon stopped smiling. Kenji's fingers rested on the bowl, then fell away. He bowed his head and resigned. The sentence was soft. Riverton Arena exploded, and Mia's stream chat turned into a wall of capital letters. Sierra screamed again with absolutely no dignity. Celeste closed her eyes once, then opened them with a smile she tried and failed to hide. Vera muttered finally, as if she had been personally inconvenienced by his victory. Sabrina looked toward Felix, who looked away. First, Kenji stood, offering his hand. Our guy took it. Kenji said he was not reckless. He replied that he was, but just got better at choosing where. The microphones caught that line, as did Haldon's silence. The second red mark on Claire's map went dark. He had proved his money, then his skill. Now Haldon faced consequences. Yet he tried anyway. Landon Haldon stepped toward the broadcast area, accompanied by 2 men, his smile hastily repaired for public view. Offering his congratulations, he said, a fine game does not change land. Reality's Blue Harbor Media Campus remains exposed if sellers doubt their ability to close, desperate to keep the conversation on terrain he thought he owned. Claire stepped forward before our guy could. Her bandage stood out under the lights. People noticed, and Haldon saw them looking. She laid the map on a table beside the go board, challenging him to discuss real land realities. Haldon's face hardened, dismissing Claire. She looked right at him, saying he had already tried that and it failed. The room reacted with appetite, not shock. Sabrina stepped up beside Claire, placing the Lark Project card on the table. Larkside access remains with Blue Harbor, Sabrina declared under his authority. Felix twitched as if to stop her, then saw the cameras and quickly abandoned the attempt. Issa stepped up next, announcing that the Lavin County route is active and the permit line connects. Vera dropped a coiflow access card down, confirming the service route touches the strip. He still hated how elegant this play was. Celeste lifted her phone with the Blackette Live dashboard visible, declaring the broadcast partner stays and the audience is still here. Camilla's face appeared on a Silverline Studios live feed behind them. She stood on stage, smiling like a woman who had learned timing through pure pain. Kama announced through the screen that Silverline Studios was backing their public launch. Howard Kincaid was not on the program, making the entire arena burst into laughter. Everyone loves a fallen predator when his name finally becomes a punchline. Haldon looked at the map, then at Claire, then at Wyatt. His face finally showed the exact thing. Arrogant men try hardest to hide math arriving late. He had spread a bankruptcy rumor, but Wyatt shut it down through Mia's stream. He had backed a skill. Humiliation, yet Kenji resigned. He had planted Claire, but she stood right beside him. He had squeezed land sellers, but the women he dismissed now blocked his every move. One of the major donors, standing right next to Haldon, quietly stepped away. Then another, the representative from Bayfront Hall, turned his attention straight to Celeste. Instead of Haldon asking where the Blue Harbor partner list should be sent, Celeste did not look at Wyatt, calmly directing them to her office. the collapse had already happened. No shouting from Haldon, no security dragging him away. Just power shifting its gaze to the very women he dismissed as mere decoration. Haldon's jaw tightened, asking if they thought this was over. Wyatt looked at Claire's bandage. No, Wyatt told him, it was simply too expensive for him to continue. Claire folded the map. The cameras caught that too. The third red mark died, Haldon. Capital had lost the rumor, the board, the roots, their spy in the room. By afternoon, the Blue Harbor Media Campus secured its partner list once again. The loyal names received slots. Those who left during the rumors received polite delays, which was just a nice way of saying stay outside. Sierra absolutely loved sending them. 2. This guy wrote about temporary distance at midnight, she said, waving her phone. She was replying with a temporary door. Celeste grabbed the phone from her, saying she would season the consequence to keep Sierra from oversalting. Issa laughed first, even Vera smiled barely. Wyatt saw it anyway. The final red mark on Claire's map was gone. The story should have ended right there. Public funds proven, skill fully proven. Haldon was completely exposed on live television. Women were holding keys to doors once locked. But this victory still had one last debt to collect, Vanessa. Bishop stood waiting outside Riverton Arena near the side exit. No Gavin. No flashy borrowed sedan, no boutique gifts, just Vanessa in a plain coat, hands folded in front of her, looking at Wyatt as if she had finally run out of places where her status actually mattered. She quietly asked what, as Wyatt stopped. The others slowed down behind him. Celeste saw Vanessa and remained completely silent. Sierra's expression immediately sharpened, but she stayed quiet for once. Issa touched her building key inside her pocket. Claire watched closely, like a woman studying final leverage. Vanessa looked at all of them, then back at Wyatt, whispering that she saw everything. She mentioned Mia's stream, the game, Haldon, and the women he had trusted. They trusted themselves first, Wyatt replied. That is why it worked. Her eyes filled up. But she held back the tears, knowing crying too early would just look like another calculated strategy. She admitted she was wrong about him, and she flinched at the simplicity. She claimed she no longer wanted Gavin, or the shallow life she once chased. She knew she had lost her place, begging if any part of him still remembered them. There it was, the exact words the old Wyatt had once begged to hear. If there was any part left, but the brutal truth was simple, he felt absolutely nothing. 3 years do not just vanish because a system pays. He cannot become immune just because a woman cries too late. The old part of him was still there, smaller now, sitting behind glass. But glass is not a door. He told her he remembered them. Vanessa took one step closer. He held up his hand, saying that was why his answer was no. She stopped. He kept his voice calm because final cruelty did not need volume. She had loved him best when he was useful and invisible. She only regretted him when another woman held the bag, when Gavin hit the floor, when the crowd learned his name, when the city decided he actually mattered. That might be regret or even real pain, but it was not the kind of love he was willing to rebuild his life around. A tear slipped down her face. This time he did not hate her for it, nor did he move closer. He hoped she would choose better next time, just not with him. Vanessa covered her mouth. No devotion score flashed, no rebate dinged, no system reward appeared good. The opening wound did not need another payout. It needed an ending. He walked away. Behind him, Vanessa did not call his name again. In front of him, the women who had tried to drain him were arguing over schedules, keys, cameras, routes, and which doors stayed closed to cowards. Celeste was already correcting a Blackette Live sponsor. Sierra was threatening a donor with creative email language. Isla was on the phone about her building. Vera was telling someone at Koflo to stop explaining her own company back to her. Camilla's Silverline Studios feed was still climbing. Sabrina held Blue Harbor Media Campus access like a weapon her brother no longer controlled. Claire stood beside him with the folded attack map and the Scarestream box in her bag. They had not become his prizes. That would have been too simple, and he had already been somebody's simple thing. They became pressure, leverage, trouble, loyalty, competition, and consequence. They tried to bankrupt him and built the machine instead. The counterbalance system had not made him loved. It made him impossible to treat like a doormat again. He looked back once at Riverton Arena, at the cameras still packing up, at the doors Haldon had walked through without his room behind him, and at the side exit where Vanessa had finally learned that regret was not a key. Then he put his phone away and followed the empire he had accidentally funded into the daylight.